Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Baines? Here. Bredefeld?
Here.
Caprielio?
Here.
Chavez?
Here.
Councilmember Olivier is absent. Council Vice President Brandow? And President Soria.
Here. Next, we have the invocation by Chief of Staff of District 3, and that is Raymond Eddy. So come on down, make it good. And I will ask everyone to please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
This is the illustrious Raymond Eddy.
Oh, okay. Good morning to my city council and everyone in attendance. If everyone could bow your heads, close your eyes for a few minutes while we speak to our Heavenly Father. Our Heavenly Father, lead us as one united body as we come before you this morning. Be the guide to our thoughts, actions, as we work together to improve the lives of everyone in Fresno. Forever remind us that every living being works for the same purpose, which is a full and abundant life, where the essence of your heavenly being is present in all of our thoughts, actions, and words. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all.
City Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, we have a add-on presentation of a certificate of recognition to Council District 1 intern Audrey Dunn by President Soria. And we are also moving item 3B to the March 22nd, 2018 meeting per staff.
Do any council members have any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
A motion to approve.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Capriolio and a second by Councilmember Baines. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Olivier absent. Next, we're going to go to the consent calendar. Would any council members like to pull an item for discussion? And if anything is pulled, we will hear the contested consent after the council member reports and comments and presentations as well. Councilmember Bredefeld.
Yes, I'd like to pull item 1E, 1I, and 1K.
Thank you. Councilmember Brandow.
I was going to also just pull 1I, so that's already been done.
Perfect. Now we will go out to the public. Would there be any member of the public who wishes to speak on the consent calendar? If so, you have 3 minutes, and if you want to go ahead and say your name and address for the record.
Zachary Harding, 3450 West Shaw. So basically, I'm here today representing QC International Incorporated. We appreciate the plan to take the steps necessary to legalize medical cannabis in Fresno that was established in December. On December 16th, we received a memorandum from the city of Fresno via email directing us to apply for state licensing. Unfortunately, in order to complete the application, we need authorization from the city of Fresno to operate, indicated in the form of a consent letter. The next step to authorizing...
Sir,
yes.
just to interrupt you, so are you speaking directly to any items on the consent calendar? Otherwise, we will have time for unscheduled communication.
This is unscheduled.
Okay, so we haven't called unscheduled communication. Do you wish to come up in a few minutes and
Not a problem.
do that? because we're addressing the consent calendar.
That's not a problem. My understanding was that it could be addressed during any point during this meeting, but
No.
it's not a problem.
Okay, so if you wish to come in later when we call unscheduled communication, you're welcome to come.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So seeing that the screen is clear, is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment on the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none and the screen is clear, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Capriolio, second by Councilmember Brandau. Is there any opposition to this item? Seeing none, the motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Olivier absent. Next, we will go to the ceremonial presentations. And so the first presentation, it is by the mayor, and I believe the entire council will be joining. We are recognizing Socorro Pelayo, who is one of our fabulous fax bus drivers. You guys want to come on down or no?
Council members, is it on?
Yeah, if you guys want to come.
Council members, come on down. Good morning. We're here to honor a city employee, Socorro Pelayo. I get that right? Pelayo. Been over 17 years with fax, and about a month ago was a hero to the city of Fresno. There was a young girl who was being potentially kidnapped, molested by an adult, and she brought her, and if I say this story wrong, you can correct me, brought her into the bus, locked her in, chased off the potential intruder, called the police, and did exactly what she's supposed to do. And this resulted in probably, at the very least, saving a lot of trauma to a young girl in the city of Fresno. And as the mayor and as the council, we are very proud for what you've done. And I'm actually going to read this proclamation. I'm going to read the proclamation, and I got bigger font here. My eyes aren't that good anymore. Okay. So, in recognition and deep appreciation of your heroism, compassion, and dedicated service to the citizens of Fresno, we humbly commend you on putting the needs of others above and beyond your own safety. Through your bravery and quick thinking, your actions made a profound impact on the life of another. We are proud to express our gratitude and recognize your commitment to the Fresno Area Express and to the citizens you serve. Let's give her a big hand. Would you like to say a few words? You're a hero.
Well, just thank you for everything, you guys. I was just doing my job. I really appreciate it, and it's an honor to be here.
It's very humble. Any council members want to comment?
Thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted to share a few words because this incident did happen in District 1. And so I did have the opportunity to speak to Socorro last week. And, you know, the fact that she really didn't want to say anything speaks to her humility and the love that she has for the city of Fresno. And it is great this morning that we're able to acknowledge one of our thousands of employees that every single day give it all to ensure that the city of Fresno is working for everyone. And so I'm just very proud. I think this is a proud moment for all of us. And I want to thank Socorro for, you know, her dedication to the city of Fresno, to the residents. And, you know, what better way than today, the first day of March, as we begin to celebrate Women's History Month, highlighting a wonderful woman in our community who has given a great part of her life to public service. And I want to thank you for being a role model and really a shining example of great city employees for the city of Fresno. Thank you so much. And I also wanted to give you a little token of our appreciation. Can I get these? From our office, just to congratulate you. And thank you for everything that you're doing for the city of Fresno.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we've done other presentations.
Yes, so we do have 2 other special presentations that I wanted to invite some folks before we invite the family. So one, we have Office of Congressman Costa. Denise, do you want to come on up? I know they have a special presentation for you.
Oh, so we have a video from...
Oh, okay.
Hello, I'm Congressman Jim Costa, and I'm honored to say a few words on behalf of a person that is being honored today, so appropriately so. Socorro Pelayo is a Fresno Area Express bus driver who every day does her job, does the best she can with a smile on her face and her love for God, who saved a 16-year-old girl in Fresno from a sexual assault by allowing the young girl to seek refuge from her attacker on the bus. And so it's fitting and appropriate that the city of Fresno today recognize her. Let me join in, for Socorro was so brave and took action immediately by informing the police of the incident, and then, as only she could do, comforted and consoled the young girl. Ms. Pelayo assured the young girl that she was safe and that the attacker was not going to enter her bus. For her bravery and compassion and strength, I have the honor of naming Socorro Pelayo my heroine of the month for California's 16th congressional district. Every month, we choose a hero or a heroine. And Socorro, I'm honored that you are our heroine for this month. People like you make our city safe and the world a better place to live. And you inspire us. You're a role model. We can all learn from Socorro's example of courage, of selflessness, and human kindness. Thank you for making a difference. God bless.
Good morning, everyone. Congressman Costa really wishes he could be here, but he's on his way back from Washington. So my colleague Jose and I are here to present this congressional resolution to you, Socorro, on behalf of Congressman Costa for your bravery. So thank you for all you do for all of us every day.
Great, all these awards. Then I did want to also invite our Mexican consul, David Preciado. He also has a special recognition this morning.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing? We are very happy to be here with you, Socorro. And I have some words already. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Mayor Brand, the President of the Council, Esmeralda Soria, and all the council members for allowing us to be part of this recognition. As a representative of the Mexican community in the Central Valley of California, it is an honor for me to be here and present this certificate of recognition to Ms. Socorro Pelayo, not only for her courage and swift response to an adverse situation, but for her love to her neighbor and social conscience. Thank you for being an example of the whole community and showing that our actions have an impact on the lives of others. As Mother Teresa of Calcutta said, at the end of our lives, we will not be judged by how many diplomas we have received, how much money we have made, or how many great things we have accomplished. We will be judged by I was hungry and you give me food. I was naked and you dressed me. I was homeless and you give me an inn. Thank you, Socorro, for your faith in God, and for your sympathy and support for the needs of your neighbor, your actions to help Naya Davis and comforting her. Socorro, you are a tireless warrior and a source of pride for the whole community. You represent the true face of our community, the true face of Mexico. Finally, I am very pleased to present on behalf of the Consulate of Mexico in Fresno this certificate that it says, el Consulado de México en Fresno otorga el presente reconocimiento a Socorro Pelayo por su acto heroico frente a una situación adversa y ser una mexicana ejemplo que inspira en nuestra comunidad. Fresno, California, 1 de marzo. Muchas gracias, Socorro. And also I wanted to give you this pin with the U.S. flag and the Mexican flag, which represent the brotherhood, commitment, and cooperation between our countries to make a better world. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Big picture, which means you have to try to figure out how to fit into the frame. Yes. So we got all three plaques up like that. Don't cover your face. Lee, get Jim Shad up here too. Oh, yeah. He's right there in the front.
Excuse me, Jim Shad?
Hey, Jim.
Come on up. Come on. Director of Facts?
Great.
Switch you in the back.
There you go. Gotta get him myself.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're going to do Jim Boren first.
We'll go on to our next ceremonial presentation, which is a proclamation for Jim Boren Day, sponsored by the Mayor's Office and Councilmember Capriolio.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Try that again.
Good morning.
Well, it's an honor for us to be here today to recognize the contributions of Jim Boren in our community of Fresno. So, Jim, come on up and join us for a moment. You know, this is a special recognition for me because Jim Boren and I have been in the same neighborhood for 40 years. He's my favorite constituent, and he keeps my feet to the fire at all times. So we wanted to recognize your work throughout all the years at the Fresno Bee. And although you're retiring, you are going to the next level, which is the crown jewel of District 4, Fresno State University. So we appreciate you being there and continue your contributions to our community. And I'll leave Mayor Brand to say a few words.
Jim has a long career at the Fresno Bee. 48 years at Fresno Bee, 15 years as a political reporter, 17 years as an editor, and the executive editor since 2012, and a Hoover High School graduate. right? Fresno City College, Fresno State. We were before you, Paul. And Jim was a reporter when he first came in, and there was a big story. I remember this, Jim. I was looking at the research on you. This was 1980, and it was in Bakersfield. And this was on the heels of a big investigation in Southern California. I was down there in the 70s. You know, the McMartin family, that was based on child molestation charges were totally unfounded. And Jim was one of the reporters that really righted the wrong and told the truth. And I'm very proud of you for what you've done. And your time on the Bee, you've always been. I'm going to read what Pete Wilson said about Jim Boren. Jim is a chronicler and conscious of Fresno and the Central Valley, always speaking from deep knowledge and principle. And we may have agreed on certain things, but I never had any doubt that you had principles and you had the truth was always what you're seeking. And I'm proud to be here today, Jim.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You can get to speak now.
Oh, well, I don't have a lot to say. Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Capriolo, the rest of the city council members. Thank you very much. I'm humbled today for this honor. I guess if you hang around long enough, they recognize you. But you know, I'm a native of Fresno. Grew up here and was able to succeed because of all the great people in this community. We just saw the previous presentation with Socorro, you know, a very moving presentation about all the great people that come together to make this a better community. And I'm just proud to be part of it, and thank you very much for this honor today.
You're welcome, Jim. And with this proclamation here, I'm not going to read it all, although you merit each and every sentence on that proclamation. But I'll let you hold that. Sure. And just a couple of highlights here. As the mayor said, you started studying at Fresno State in journalism, and that was about 1980-ish. You were hired by the Bee as a... Actually, 69. 69. Oh, my goodness. Sorry about that comment. Anyway, under the steady and reliable hand of Jim Boren, the Fresno Bee has won 8 first-place awards at the 2017 Better Newspaper Contest. Jim Boren has kind and generous heart. It's well known by everyone, and it has been a pleasure interacting with you professionally and personally, as for myself, the mayor, and the entire council, Jim. You are instrumental, this is really important, you were instrumental in making Kids Day an annual fundraising event at the Valley Children's Hospital. And we're going to do that again next Tuesday, aren't we? Yes, we are. And we're going to invite all our colleagues to come to the corner of Blackstone and Shaw and join us there. So, whereas Jim Boren may be leaving the Fresno Bee, his presence will not soon dissipate. Future aspiring journalists and editors would be well advised to walk in the footsteps of Jim Boren and commit themselves wholeheartedly to the same ideals he embodied while at the Bee. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Liebrand, Councilmember Caprioli, and the entire council behind me, proclaim Thursday, March 1st, Jim Boren Day in the city of Fresno. Congratulations.
Hey, Jim?
Thank you.
Jim, I've known you now for 25 years or so, and the thing that I've always admired about you is you are a tremendously passionate person for this city. You and I may have disagreed at times. We've certainly agreed many times. But one thing I've never doubted is how much you love this city and what an advocate you've been. And what a career at the Fresno Bee. I know you've held so many different positions, but most importantly, running the Bee for many years now. I just want to tell you how much I respect and admire you. And the Fresno Bee has had a loss with you leaving there, but I know you're going to be teaching at Fresno State. And I just wish you the very, very best in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks again, Jim.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
One day I'll follow you.
And excuse me, Council President's busy, so the very next ceremonial is also from Councilman Capriolio. It's the presentation and recognition of the 5th Annual Khmer Cultural Appreciation Day.
Thank you. Good morning again, everyone, and today we have another special presentation. Actually, there are two. First, we're going to recognize Khmer Group, and second, there'll be a performance for you after we have our presentation. So, Dan, will you come up and join me, please? This is Danny Kim. He's been a 19-year veteran in the Fresno Police Department. He came over when he was 11 years old from Cambodia, and he's a great success story. He put his will and might on the line and is quite a successful person in critical mass for District 4 as well as the community of Fresno. So, Khmer people, which are, again, are Cambodians, have a long and venerated history reflected in the Khmer culture that cherishes architecture, art, music, dance, and contributing to the rich cultural diversity of the city of Fresno. So, the 5th Annual Khmer Cultural Appreciation Night takes place this Saturday, March 3rd, at the 509 Club on First Avenue. It's really quite a cultural event. The people are so warm and kind, and the entertainment, and this man here not only is a fantastic law enforcement officer, he sings, he dances, he MCs, he does everything. He's the total package, as we like to say. So I had a blast last year. I want to invite all of you to come down to the 509 Club and enjoy this great experience. And we're going to give you a little sample of it in a couple of minutes. But would you like to say a few words first, Danny?
Sure. Good morning. First, I would like to thank the council members, the mayor's office, and everyone behind me. I know there's a lot of some of the people that I'd already met. And here's our dance group. Our organization has been around about 5 years now. We're a nonprofit, and we basically kind of gather all our young teens and little ones to appreciate our culture and also the literacy program. And thank you, Paul, for allowing us giving us the opportunity to present our culture and little bits and pieces what you're going to be seeing on March 3rd at Post 509 over at First and Shield, 3509 North First, I believe. So everyone's welcome. It's free to the public. We do have light refreshment, raffles, and a lot of cultural displays. So everyone's welcome, and we'd like to invite everybody in the chamber also to join us. Thank you so much. And I'll let Jada Yawan, our lead dancer, to explain to everyone the dance history, so you guys kind of be aware of what's going on. You see all the shiny clothing and costumes, so you kind of wonder what's going on. Okay, Jada, come on up.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chadia Sam, and I'm here with Kate Mayer Rios, Terry Toy, Socheta Kio, and Sumatra Presley. We're some of the dancers at the United Khmer Cultural Preservation. On weekends, we practice from 1 to 4 p.m. Saturday and Sundays, and we practice classical and folk Cambodian dances. We have about 40 dancers in our program, and we also have a literacy program. Today we're going to be performing the blessing dance, or Rabam Chumpo. Rabam Chumpo is traditionally performed at the beginning of the ceremony to greet, bless, and offer good wishes to the audience. Khmer as a nation present their identity with pleasant politeness and honesty and prefer to develop friendship and building peace. Guests and relatives are welcome with cordial hospitality. Cambodian blessing dance, or Rabam Chumpo, is a Khmer traditional dance for the repertoire of Cambodian classical ballet to mark special holidays in Cambodia. The dance features graceful and elegant movements holding golden goblets. Inside the goblets are flower blossoms, like, for example, jasmine, lotus, or roses. The blossoms are symbolic representations of blessings from the gods. As the dancers pluck the blossoms from the goblets and gently toss them forward towards the audience, the gesture symbolizes the blessings of gods falling upon the audience. When we do this dance, we wish our audience good health, happiness, prosperity, and success. The blessing dance was first performed in Cambodia to rid the royal palace of evil spirits and bless the royal kingdom. And now we are bringing it to you. So thank you for having us, and we hope you guys enjoy.
ดนะจำราณรงเรืองเอ่ยเจียกรมเย็นสากาวปรองเปรียบเอ่ยดาวพลนาลือKrop ma ong kia sớm ban phải mong cô ơi sầm sao phía sập chân tiếng Việt ơi anh liệt ơi Krop ma ong kia sớm ban phải mong cô ơi sầm sao phía sập chân tiếng Việt ơi anh liệt ơi
Thank you, ladies, for that, for the blessing and the beautiful dance and the costumes, and all your practice paid off. That was flawless. And we thank you guys for sharing the Cambodian culture with us this morning. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Danny. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Capriolio. Next, we have, I just wanted to make an announcement. The clerk had added a special recognition for Audrey Dunn, who is an intern in my office, but unfortunately she's unable to be here this morning, so we'll just do it at a later time. But next, I will be presenting a special proclamation to the Rogue Festival, and Councilmember Oliver Baines, who also represents the Tower District, will be joining me. So, good morning, everyone. Want to welcome Heather and Jaguar to be here this morning to present this special proclamation. I want to thank also my colleague Oliver Baines for joining me. So both of us represent the Tower. We share, I think the divided line is Olive, and so I wanted to also encourage him to be here because he's a strong supporter of the Tower District. Do you want to hold that? So just a couple things. We are celebrating the 17th year of the Rogues Festival existence in our community. We're very proud of the work that members like Heather and folks like Jaguar have really created opportunities for our community to enjoy. Specifically in the Tower District, we know it's a very unique place. It is I would say it is my downtown because I represent part of it, where a lot of entertainment, restaurants, and businesses, and we just love the type of entertainment that the Rogue Festival does bring to our community. It brings people together. And so I just wanted to say a couple things in terms of the Rogue Festival, which is a non-juried performance festival that takes place over 2 weekends. And every spring, they are here in the Tower, and they bring hundreds of performances. This year, the festival does run from March 1st through March 10th. It will feature 250 performances by 48 performing groups in 10 different venues. So that's pretty impressive and amazing that they've been able to do this for the last 17 years. So just to give you a little bit of background, the Rogue Festival was built on a principle of the First Amendment. There is no censor, no curator, no selection committee standing between the artist and the audience. It's considered really a free speech zone. So this is a terrific thing happening here in the city of Fresno. It opens the doors and lowers barriers for diverse people to present their ideas to the world, to the benefit of Fresno and the greater San Joaquin Valley. And so we're very excited to be able to have him here. I just give you guys the microphone so you can share a little bit about the festival maybe this year and anything else you would like to.
As she said, the Rogue Festival is in its 17th year, and every year we combine local artists, and they're all independent artists, which means they work for themselves, and we encourage a spirit of entrepreneurship with them. So we give them a slot, and they put up their show. Again, there's no curator, so as long as they put in an application in time and get a slot, from the time that they have their show, they can say anything that they want within legal bounds. During their show. So we welcome people of all political persuasions, identities, and backgrounds to say what they want to say in an artistic endeavor. We have theater, storytelling, dance, we have magic shows, we have some family-friendly entertainment and some not-so-family-friendly entertainment, depending upon what your preferences are. But we do bring them together in a spirit of community, and it really has been the community that has sustained it. The local artists are combined with out-of-town artists, which means they come from all over the world. And the out-of-town artists absolutely love coming back to Fresno every year because Fresnans are so supportive of what they do, and they're so open to new ideas and new ways of thinking that comes up in the Tower District every year. So we're really, really proud of that particular aspect of it. Jaguar? Jaguar's a performer.
Good morning, everyone. And I'd like to thank Councilmember Soria and Baines and the whole council for honoring the Rogue Festival in this way. One of the other important things about the Rogue Festival is part of a worldwide network of fringe festivals all around the world. And in North America, the Fresno Rogue Festival has become one of the most respected of these festivals nationwide. This has been a tremendous work that has really helped to make Fresno an artistic capital. Fresno has so many wonderful advantages for artists to live here, to work here, to come here to perform. As Heather said, people love coming to the Rogue Festival because they love coming to Fresno. And this has raised the profile of our city so much. And I always am pleased, always, to hear from artists who have come to visit the Rogue, and they talk about how much they enjoy Fresno and the support for the arts that there is here. And that's a great thank you to the entire community.
Thank you. You know, everything that's been said, could be said, has been said, and so I won't say a whole lot other than the fact that it is with tremendous pride that I'm down here today celebrating the Rogue Festival. A lot of people don't know the Tower District is such a special place, and the Rogue Festival really could only take place in the Tower in Fresno. It is just an amazing cultural expression all through the Tower. What an appropriate fit for this, and what an awesome thing. I'm glad, Jaguar, how you mentioned how it's raising the profile of Fresno. You know, sometimes we as council members, we only hear the bad stuff about Fresno. People are always Fresno bashing, but we take a lot of pride in this city, and we're very proud to serve it. And with events like the Rogue Festival and people recognizing who we really are in Fresno, it's events like this that make it important. So thank you guys for your labor of love, and go Rogue.
Go Rogue. City Clerk, if you could read the proclamation for the record.
Whereas the city of Fresno is home to many talented and hardworking artists who, through their art challenge, heal, transform, and uplift our community. And whereas independent artists create performances that reflect different cultures and play a vital role in shaping our community. And whereas for many years, our very own Fresno State Benjamin Boone treated the Rogue Festival to concerts of jazz quartet and is an example of the many artists that the Rogue Festival showcases. And whereas on their 15th anniversary of the Rogue Festival in 2016, the city of Fresno declared March 3rd to be Rogue Festival Day, and today reestablishes its commitment to recognizing the Rogue Festival as an event bringing people of all ages, races, genders, abilities, and religions orientations together. And whereas the citizens of Fresno are joining together to support these artists in the 17th annual Rogue Festival, hosted in 8 different locations throughout Fresno's Tower District from March 1st to March 10th, 2018. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the mayor and council of the city of Fresno, do hereby recognize the mission of the Rogue Festival to showcase independent artists in our community, and do proclaim March 3rd, 2018 as Rogue Festival Day in the city of Fresno.
Next, we will move on to the approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes of February 15th? Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Motion by Councilmember Capriolio, and I'll make the second. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. Now we'll go on to Councilmember reports and comments. I have Councilmember Gary Bredefeld.
Yeah, question. I understand the city manager, we had the consultant, the marijuana consultant came and met with staff. Is that correct?
Sorry, yes, that's correct.
Will we get a report, an update? I mean, I know several council members were there. I'd like to know what was said, what's being discussed.
Yeah, we can get you a report or update, or I could have staff meet with you as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you
I'm
had-
happy to do that.
So what was the process? You met once with the consultant, or you had a couple of meetings? And
The consultant's been here a few times, and I believe we have another meeting scheduled in the next, I think it's actually within the next, tomorrow? Oh, it's this Friday, yeah. So I'm happy to come and meet with you and give you an update of where we are.
Okay, and you said something about Fridays. They're coming tomorrow?
Yes, they'll be here tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay,
Appreciate
great.
that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Capriolio.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to start off by introducing the newest member of the D4 team, Cody Sedano. Please stand up. He's from the Maddie Institute. He's the veteran. He is the Senator of Veterans Affairs at Fresno State. And we're really excited to have you and have your talents brought to District 4 in our team. So thank you very much. Can you give him a round of applause, please? Next, I want to thank Jerry Schubert and Code for their diligent work on Sierra Madre. I really, really appreciate that. We've been battling that area for a while, and your attention to that is greatly appreciated. I also wanted to congratulate the mayor, city attorney, the administration for the great work on the Fresno Grizzlies. I want to congratulate Jim Kufas, Ray and Michael Baker, and for their commitment to the city of Fresno. And to my friend Derek Franks, he was promoted to president of the Fresno Grizzlies. Certainly looking forward to a great season with the Grizzlies. And I also had an opportunity to present a certificate of recognition to Jose Ramirez. We congratulated him for his great successes in the ring, but also focusing and bringing attention to water. The water fights, he's had 8 of them, and this brought a lot of attention to the Central Valley and the great need that we have there. So his historic title fight will be March 17th at Madison Square Garden. He's 21-0. His opponent is 21-0. So both have about the same amount of knockouts. So it's going to be a really, really good fight. And I had a chance to tell the people, the crowd that were there, that Fresno has a great history with boxing. It started in 1933 with a fellow named Young Corbett III. His statue is right outside the convention center. And his true name was Giordano. But the Italians at that time were just totally shunned, and we were less than less, I guess you'd say. So he had to adopt a new name to get fights and get into the game, and he became a world champion. So he's Young Corbett III. Also, there was a fellow named Mac Foster, another fellow named Irish Wayne Thornton, Gabe Turonis. Gabe Turonis has a school named after him, and he was a world champion. And I'm confident that Jose will bring the belt back March 14th to the great city of Fresno and to Central California. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Capriolio. Just a couple. Councilmember Brenda.
Okay. Council President, I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in the memory of Billy Graham. A lot of folks refer to him as America's pastor, and the president has asked that the flag be flown at half-staff at the White House and all public and government grounds across the nation tomorrow, and I hope the city of Fresno can participate in that. But more importantly for me, I remember a nine and a half-year-old kid in the city of Selma who was very impacted by a Billy Graham sermon a lot of years ago. So if we could adjourn the meeting in his memory, that'd be great.
Great. We will be adjourning in his memory. Thank you, Councilmember Brando. And I just have 2 brief comments to make. So one, I was appointed to the League of California Cities strategic planning committee, excuse me. And we met last week out in Southern California, so very proud to represent the city of Fresno as the League of Cities puts a plan together to figure out how we're going to best represent local cities throughout the entire state. Also, just want to put a plug in for March 6th, which will be Kids Day. Encourage everyone to support this great event. Get your newspapers. I know that many of us will be out bright and early helping out in these efforts to raise some funds. And so just encourage everyone to go out and support. And that's it. I have Councilmember Olivia. You just punched up.
Thank you. Earlier this week, I was in Washington, D.C., and I was a guest of the Kaboom organization, and I sat on a panel with the chief of Baltimore Police talking about the importance of play and how play can impact the children's lives in disadvantaged neighborhoods. And it was a very fascinating and informative panel to be a part of, and was happy to represent the city of Fresno. They said that the project that they did at Granny's Park last year was their favorite project last year, that they had a good time, and that they know that the impact that project's having in that neighborhood in Central Fresno. So I also put in a good word for Councilmember Capriolio, who's just beginning the process of working with the Kaboom organization to bring a playground to his area. And it's true. I think I began as a skeptic, but they do have a good program, and there's a reason why they engage the community, and they do the meetings and the outreach, and the kids actually get to come out and design the playground themselves and pick the colors. And so it was very productive, but happy to be back. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Olivier. Next, we will go to contested consent calendar. And those are the items that were pulled this morning. The first item is item 1E, resolution approving the assignment and assumption of Opportunity Builders Home Agreement and related documents to the Dublin Transit EAH, Inc.
Good morning, Karina Nunez, Housing.
Yeah, just a quick question on what did the city loan towards this project? Because it talks about receiving $19,000 a year.
700,000.
700. Okay. I was just curious, in light of the project that we had, the council approved on McKinley. This actually was a $6.2 million project for 48 units. It came out to about $129,000 a unit, in contrast to $433,000. So it was just, I was interested in comparing. Obviously, this was done in 2002, so
right, several years ago.
Quite some time ago. Anyway, I'll make a motion to approve.
So there is a motion and a second. We'll go out to the audience. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none. There's no one else that is punched up. So we have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Baines absent. Next, we have item 1I, which is to approve the First Amendment to the Consulting Services Agreement with the Guaco Group to extend the term and increase the total compensation to $170,000 for professional water lobbying and consulting services. Tommy.
Hey, Tommy.
How you doing?
It says in the report, since being approved by the City Council in 2016, this group has been providing exemplary consulting, lobbying, and engagement services for water-related issues affecting the city. Can you talk about what exactly they've done? Because there's nothing here that says, oh, they got this, they did this.
Yeah, so there's a number of things. The state government, legislature, and the governor got active in water business, water utility business, 14 and 15, voluntary conservation, mandatory conservation in 15. We saw it coming, so we decided we needed to get somebody who had eyes and ears out there. So we got the mandatory water restrictions. We had the no medians. We have the no watering on the public. So we've been working with our lobbyists to position ourselves to respond to some of those things and get a little bit of, I want to say pushback out here, but some pushback on some of those. The current one that we're working on feverishly is Senate Bill 623, which proposes to apply a water tax to every account in the city, $1.9 million, and take that money out of the city and give it to people outside the city. And we are not happy about that. So we are working with our lobbyists right now to kind of get that reconfigured in some other situation, in some other model that doesn't take $1.9 million out of the city. There's another piece of legislation out there related to us doing mandatory extensions, take our system and expand it to support projects that were approved by others that are failing now, and they would like us to take those over. It's another one we're using our lobbyists to help guide us on how do we push back, because our ratepayers have invested this money, the idea of making it available to others. So those are the types of things where the government, the state government and the office of the governor are trying to get our utility and all utilities in the state to kind of expand their scope to serve other services that weren't paid for by other folks, and the public policy question is really what we're kind of pushing. Is that good public policy for them to do those things? So it's a lot of those types of things that we're actively doing right now, trying to get another perspective presented in front of the legislature and the office of the governor.
And this started in 2016?
Started in August of 2016 as a follow-up to watching them. You can't water, you can't sell things, you can't put water. We're like, hey, wait, we needed to get more engaged in that process. So one of the things that our lobbyists helped us do was get appointed to a governor's task force where we got to provide some input. The outcome of that was, maybe some of you have heard, the water conservation is a California way of life. It's a very, very severe way of managing water at the utility level, which we're not in favor of a lot of those things. And we've been, again, making comments and submitting documentation to others. The recycled water piece is another one that's currently being looked at. It's money we've invested to create a new water supply source. And the state is saying, well, we would think that should be part of your normal portfolio. And we're like, no, that's off-book water. That's water we have spent separately on our own. So those are the kinds of things that Temperance Flat is part of what we're working on with California Water Commission on the Temperance Flat, Cal Water Fix, the Twin Tunnels. Those are the generating water and trying to protect our water and trying to protect our ratepayers' monthly utility bill. That's the other thing that we're actively engaged in right now.
Now, are other cities, utilities departments hiring lobbyists?
Yes. So I meet once a month with the 10 biggest water utilities in the state: San Francisco, East Bay Mud, LA, San Diego, Metropolitan. And we get in those rooms together. In the last meeting, we didn't bring our lobbyists, but the other entities brought their lobbyists. And so we've been talking about how we want to just kind of communicate a singular message to the legislature. So all the other utilities. And Gualco, the one we've picked, is a representative for two of the other agencies that are on that California Urban Water Agency group.
Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy, I was going to pull this item as well. So 170,000 for the consultant, and your update's been fantastic. So I think of another lobbyist. We have a Washington, D.C. lobbyist for federal issues, and we get a weekly email report. At least I do. I believe some of the other council members. It's available to us if we want it. And so it's always interesting to know that throughout the year, I see the different things that lobbyist is working on and reporting back. With this lobbyist, we really get our updates through you then, I guess. Is that right?
So I apologize. So I get at least 2 emails a week from Gualco saying, hey, here's the things to be looking for. Here's our thoughts and ideas and suggestions. So I get that twice a week. And John gets a copy. The administration gets a copy. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, we can definitely make that available.
And it doesn't have
and it's
to
scary when you get it. You
right.
get it and you're going, oh.
But it's very interesting. I mean, I'm getting fired up about this thing that you just mentioned about the money from the city of Fresno to other cities.
1.9 million.
1.9 million. See, that's a big deal. I'd like to hear about that stuff more often. Now, interestingly enough, when you and I talk and have conversations, you do update me. So what you're telling me today is that this lobbyist is very integral to you getting your job done in the city of Fresno. Is that right?
It's what I would say is, when we watched 14-15 happen, we were in a very defensive mode. It was just kept coming, and we thought we can't play this, and we got to get offensive. And so we decided to get somebody, boots on the ground, who has all the relationship with the agencies and could start feeding us information so we could position ourselves earlier than waiting for the reaction. Instead of reacting, we could get ahead of some of these issues. And so that's what's been really, really helpful.
So is that one of the things that the lobbyist does, has relationships with the different agencies, people that they can talk to? They're on the inside maybe and can get us information and then track bills and that type of thing.
That's right. And so on this one with the 623 taking the $1.9 million out, one of the things with the administration we talked about doing was if that decision gets made, it'll have to be administered by the State Water Resources Control Board. So our lobbyist was able to get a member of the State Water Resources Control Board down to meet with us, and we could share in person, here's our frustration with this. Here are some different we didn't say, no, we don't want to do it. We just said, there's other ways to look at this we'd really like you to consider. And we felt like we made some good progress with that. Some other agencies have been doing that as well. And so now we're seeing some other proposals come forward other than take $1.9 million out of the city of Fresno.
Okay, cool. Well, I flagged it on my agenda because, in my opinion, 170,000 is a lot of money. And so I wanted to hear, what the value that was getting added to the city of Fresno. I'd love to hear from my colleagues. For a vote's sake, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Brandel. Seeing that there's no one else, I will just ask a couple follow-up questions, and thank you for the presentation. And so there's an 80,000 increase, is that what?
80,000, so it's 16 months at 5,000 a month,
And so
80,000.
you guys believe that additional work justifies the increase? It's a pretty significant increase.
It is, but right now we're in the middle of a number of very important legislative items that are going, and we've got some momentum, and we feel really, we just got to keep playing offense and not get caught flat-footed and have this come down and take the money.
Yeah, similar to what Councilmember Brandel said, I'd like to see the reports just to make sure that we're getting our money's worth. I'd like to see kind of the work. I also know that we just approved a consultant agreement for another lobbyist, or I guess general lobbyist, and I just want to ask for the record. So we are confident that we need the expertise because our just general lobbyist doesn't have that expertise.
That's right. It's a very specialized, kind of like engineers. There's people who are good at water, and there's ones that do good roads. The road guys don't do good water, water don't do good roads. So we have a lobbyist that's very specialized on the water side of the issues in Sacramento.
Okay. And that's pretty typical of cities.
Of the big cities.
I just want to make sure folks understand. I was a big proponent of having a lobbyist a couple years ago because I think that during the budget cuts and the recession, we got rid of our former lobbyist. And so I think it's been a couple years since we got Campbell Strategies to help us out. And I see a tremendous amount of value in having those liaisons essentially and presence in our both state and federal capitals, because when policies are going through the process quickly, we need someone to represent the city of Fresno. And so I do believe that those are important, but it kind of shocked me in terms of the price tag. So I'm going to be supportive, but I think that I'm going to watch very carefully as we continue on. And when you guys come back, I want to make sure that we're getting our money's worth, because I do believe it's not pocket change that we are approving today. Also, the other thing that I wanted to mention, I know one of the issues, because they're doing water lobbying. In my district, we face with the median islands not being watered that have trees. I would like to see some proactive measures on our behalf of our lobbyists. So if we can, if I could just give some, express my encouragement to the administration to get some of that fixed. I know that we've done a workaround for like an area in the Fresno High area where they have the Van Ness Boulevard, and we had precious trees and we didn't want them to die because of the lack of watering. So if we can just make sure that we're working on, those issues.
Two things on that point. The city of Fresno pushed hard on the tree issue, and so that wound up being a concession that the administration, that the state administration and the Water Resource Control Board accepted and say, yes, we want you to keep your trees, so we'll let you do that. The most recent one that came through, though, this is 2 weeks ago, was they want to kill all the grass on the side of the roadways that we have, like the bike lane, we have a green strip, and then we have a sidewalk, it's kind of a recreational people walk. They want to kill that grass, and we're like, no. So we worked with our folks to get that message back to Sacramento that, hey, that's part of our community. That's part of the recreational benefits that we provide. So a letter went back to them saying this is not something we're going to be able to support, and we're going to want to push back on. So killing grass in the roadway areas is still high on the mind of Sacramento folks, and we're pushing back every chance we get.
Yeah, especially those areas that, like, for example, I know Huntington Boulevard, Fresno High, Van Ness Boulevard, those areas are very, very important, and I know that our constituents really want to make sure that when we do have the ability to keep them green, that we keep them green, because they are the green space in midst of us not having enough green space in the entire city of Fresno. I appreciate that. Thank you. So there is a motion and a second. Final comment by Councilmember Bredefeld.
I just want to say, Tommy, I'm going to support this today. I do see this as a very specialized area that we probably do need the support, which for me is in contrast to the Campbell lobby group, which I didn't support for the reasons I outlined, but I'm going to support this today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there is a motion and a second. Did we go out to the, I don't think we went out to the public. So is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none. Is there any opposition? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next, we'll go on to item 1K. Item to approve the First Amendment to agreement between the City of Fresno and Palcom Realty Advisors.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is there an updated version, City Manager, of all the city properties and leases that we can get a hold of and take a look at?
The last one was presented to council at the end of 2015, and I can get you a copy of this one.
Okay.
And then we do need to update it because since this was presented to council and working with Tony and Gary, our real estate brokers, we've learned a lot since then. So we do need to update this, but I'm happy to get you this copy, meet with you, tell you what we've learned, and then what we'll have it updated.
Yeah, I would like to just see that as we look at, obviously, ongoing assessment of our properties, what we're willing to do with them, sell, change. And so you say the last one was when?
It was actually presented to council December 10th of 2015.
2015. So
yeah,
it's been a while, so I'm wondering if we can get something. Do you know when we might be able to get that?
As soon as we meet with Tony and Gary monthly, so we'll get on and getting an update.
Okay.
I can get you this one today.
Okay.
And
well,
then,
I'll wait for
right.
the more updated
Yeah,
one.
and we'll get. I would say maybe 30 to 60 days we can
Sounds
have it
great.
updated. Okay, great.
Thank you very much. Make
Okay.
a motion to approve.
Motion, and there's a motion and a second. The screen is clear, but I do want to just kind of echo that. I'd like to also, Wilma, if City Manager, if I could get a copy of the updated report, that would be great.
Absolutely, we'll distribute it to all of council when it's ready.
Perfect, thank you. So there is a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember 5-0 with Councilmember Brandow and Councilmember Capriolo absent. So next, okay, so we're going to take, I'm going to take a couple things out of order. We're going to go to general administration, and it is item 3C, actions pertaining to the fiscal year 2018 budget update for the general fund, and the resolution 47th amendment. I believe the mayor is here that's going to make a presentation.
Good morning. I'm going to give the overview, and former city manager Bruce Rudd will go into details. But we've met with every council member on this item. We had about $8.6 million as a carryover from the prior fiscal year, which really represents about 2.5% of the $330 million budget, which is actually pretty close. And every year we carry over to the positive, and we want to carry over to the positive, but just to put this in perspective, the carryovers accrue year to year, and they're absorbed in the following year budget, so we're not accruing a fund on this. So when I originally did this, I wanted to have about $1 million left over, but as we went through the items in my staff at first, we felt all these were necessary items to continue the operations and maintenance for the city of Fresno. And this is part, there's a second page that shows a 5-year budget. So this is part of the bigger plan that I have to eventually move the city into a position where it is in sound fiscal condition and can deliver the core services necessary for the city. So on the second page, you're going to see the results of these changes over 5 years, which are $38 million. So with that, I'll bring it to the city manager to give the details. Thank you.
Good morning, City Council. Can we bring up that table? I believe you do. There you go. Thank you. So as the mayor indicated, the FY17 budget came in at about $8.6 million. $3.5 million, or as the assistant city manager will point out, represents less than 1%, or about 1%. So good call, Jane, on the revenue side. $5.2 million of the $8.6 million that we're talking about this morning is actually associated with expenses coming in lower than anticipated. Now, you understand of that, $1.4 million is due to the fact that we did not book expenses associated with the North Central Fire District agreement against the general fund last year. Another $1.4 million or so is due to projects or capital projects that were not completed that are simply being carried over to this year's budget. And we contemplate that those projects will be completed this year. So as you can see by the table that is before you, the schedule that's before you, that you are actually looking at a carryover, a net carryover of about $5.8 million. Now, again, we had $5.2 million associated with salary savings, and that's an important aspect to keep in mind because unlike previous budgets, this year's budget assumes that we will have at least $5.2 million in salary savings. In other words, we took that projected salary savings and have already spent it on other priorities. Now, the police department and the fire department have historically used a portion of those salary savings to cover their ongoing costs of operations. And in anticipation of presenting this item before council this morning, we checked with both police and fire to ask and look into where they were as far as their expenses had accrued over the first 6 months of the year. And both police and fire came back and advised us that unless they were allocated at least another $2 million in appropriations, that they would not be able to fund the ongoing costs of service. So this schedule reflects that ongoing need. In addition, our Parks Department, and one of the reasons is a little late getting to the council, advised us that they too were seeing an increase in their operating expense, primarily in the cost of their utilities, which was being driven by their water expenses. After additional analysis, we've come to determine that there are a couple of minor items. For example, we are now watering a couple of linear parks that we were not watering in the past. One of them is Huntington Boulevard, the other one is Toll House Park. But the big driver is that we went from, during the drought, we went from a 2-day watering cycle to a 3-day watering cycle. That's a 50% increase in the amount of water, so therefore the number that we're looking at right now is about a 52% increase in their cost. So you'll see on the schedule for the Parks Department, there is a $450,000 allocation being recommended in order to cover the cost of irrigating. And again, last year was a relatively wet year, and we are now, for the first time, I think, and since November, actually seeing rain outside this building. One of the other big ticket items in here is that we are recommending that we set aside $1.3 million, as we've discussed, for our fire headquarters, as we've discussed in closed session. The city entered into a long-term lease for the fire headquarters. That payment is over $600,000 a year. We are currently in negotiations to acquire this building with the $1.3 million plus what we've already scheduled out for the lease payment. We believe we can actually own this building in about 4 years. We have been paying the lease payment of this amount for about 10 to 15 years. 13. So as I've shared with others, we've probably bought this thing twice. So I think at this point in time, it's prudent based on other strategies we've taken with real estate that we either lease or own, that this is time that we actually own this asset. Then the remaining recommendations vary from increases such as the EDC contract, state lobbyist contract, to a handful of parks projects, a BMX track, which was originally funded under the general fund, but in order to try to fund other general fund priorities was shifted to CDBG, and we are recommending, and council already adopted this item about 2 or 3 months ago, that be funded under the general fund because of all the requirements that you run into when you start using federal dollars, and this is a partnership with a nonprofit. And then there's a Cary Park lighting overruns and some other things. So you can see that there is a series of ongoing expenses as well as some one-time expenses. So I guess what I would share with the council is the good news is that we have money from last year to pay for this year's ongoing expenses. The bad news, we should all anticipate that our expenses for next year will be higher than what was originally anticipated. So with that, we're available to answer any questions that the council may have. Thank you.
So we will go out to the public. I don't know if any of my council colleagues have punched up and are interested to speak on the item, but just wanted to just make a note. So because of a conflict, I will be recusing myself and stepping out for the 3CB part of the item. So when we get to the voting portion, I will be stepping out. But is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. The screen is clear. Is there a motion? Oh, okay. Councilmember Bredefeld.
So I think when we had met, I asked you about the Granite Park netting.
Yes.
Council President Soria has a conflict on that part of the item. So if we're going to discuss that, she needs to be able to step out.
Okay.
I can step out, and then they can take the vote on that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the question is, why are we funding that? Well, go ahead.
So the netting is needed because at the time when we entered into the agreement, neither the city nor the leasing anticipated the challenges that we are now seeing out this field or at this facility. The adjacent neighborhood or homes along Hamilton Avenue are being impacted by fly balls that are going over the fence and into the adjacent neighborhood. There's also a very tall wall along one of the fields, which is on the, I'll call it Field 1, but it is on the eastern side of the property, that even with that wall, there are individuals who have the ability to hit a fly ball over that wall, and it's also impacting the adjacent property owner. The challenge for Granite Park, and we won't get into it today, but it will be certainly a topic of further consideration and discussion amongst the council, is that the market analysis that was conducted, and it was the basis for the lease, and the revenue projections that were anticipated are nowhere near what they were actually experiencing. So to ask them at this point in time to fund this expense is, in our opinion, not realistic. It's, in a lot of ways, it is an asset of the city. Granite Park is our park one way or another. And therefore, we are recommending that we spend the $150,000 on putting in that netting, because in the event that we don't and the current leaseor doesn't, and there is some kind of damage claim, a risk claim filed, they will come looking for us anyway. So our recommendation is to mitigate that as quickly as we can and put in the netting.
And so your feeling is they don't have the resources to do the netting, and so it's in our interest to avoid litigation or something of that sort?
Yes.
Okay. And then just one final thing on the state lobbyist contract, $90,000. Can you talk?
Well, that was a contract that was already approved by council, but what happened is that contract originally...
Council, I'm sorry. It would be better if maybe we finish the Granite Park portion, because Council President Soria is entitled to be here for that part of it.
Yes. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Just on item B, though, which is the Granite Park item?
Yes, I'm
So
done.
we're going to finish off that item so we can bring Council President Soria back in the room. We need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. And a second.
Hang on. Who wants to speak?
Yes, Councilman Olivia.
I'm going to be supportive today, and I understand the predicament that we're in, but, I just want to remind council and remind our administration that, in the past, and this was something we had to deal with when chickens came home to roost in 08, 09, 10, 11, 12, that during the good times, we took on these kinds of responsibilities and buying nets and maintaining this building and taking care of that building and buying this and having that and these kinds of things. I'm going to be supportive. I get it. The balls are going into people's yards. I get it. It's our park. But I just want to caution council colleagues. I won't be here, but just be very, very careful in terms of taking on these kinds of responsibilities that have the opportunity and the potential to cost the taxpayer money down the road, like nets and ice rinks or whatever, what have you. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but we have to protect this organization. We have to protect our residents for when the downturn comes, because we need to have reserves, and we need to ensure that when the downturn comes, we can still offer basic services and we're not tied up in nets and other kinds of ancillary items. Thank you.
Any other council members like to? Yeah, Councilman Chavez.
Bruce, I know we've had this conversation before. I know that this isn't the only case where we've set up a lease with an organization. I have one in my district with Reading and Beyond. They've essentially moved into the community center. From what I understand, they're responsible for the maintenance and fixing. How have those deals worked out in the past? And where I'm getting at is we should treat all organizations the same, right? The same deal that we give one nonprofit, we should give to the other. And so I'm trying to get clarification on how we're going to approach that for other organizations that we have these agreements with.
Well, we could certainly come back because that'd be an interesting topic for a workshop, because there are some nonprofits that are allowed to occupy a building for $1 a year, and we are responsible for all the maintenance, all the utilities, everything. These are long-standing leases or agreements that have been in place for years. The Fresno Art Museum is a good example of that. The Mukes Home is another example of that. Then we have some of the more recent agreements that we've made with community-based organizations such as Reading and Beyond. The one with Reading and Beyond was amended about 2 years ago because of the ongoing costs of that building and having to pay for utilities, which we have now stepped back in to do. We have other CBOs who are still paying the utilities, but we're augmenting that with staff. But we can come back with a workshop because there's a very wide range of leases or subsidies that we provide nonprofits that at the end of the day have an impact on the general fund.
Well, and where I'm going with all this is essentially, we have these public, nonprofit, maybe public-private partnerships that we have, and so I think as an entity, we have to balance that with regards to keeping that open, but then also having public accessibility.
Right.
We're using public tax dollars, and so we need to really look at who's able to access those fields, because if we're asking the public to pay for it, they should have access to it too, and I think that needs to be part of the conversation for us.
And that one field, I know which one you're referring to, and we are having a ongoing discussion, and most recently had a discussion with him, with Mr. Frazier about 2 weeks ago, about we got to figure out a different way of getting it, that field reopened. The challenge he was running into is that while that field was open and nobody was there, he was experiencing vandalism, which means he'd have to come back to us, or he would have to put the bill for the repairs.
Okay.
So,
all right.
but we'll work with your office because I know that's an important item for you.
Absolutely. And I know this is Councilmember Capriola's area. So just so I understand, are those fields in Granite Park accessible to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilman Bredefeld.
Yeah, question. So, Mr. Frazier was responsible for the netting. Is that accurate, and we're just taking it over because he's saying that he's having difficulty?
No, the netting was never installed.
Okay. No, but I mean, in terms of this issue arising, who is ultimately responsible for this kind of a problem? Was it
Well, when the fields were opened originally, there was no netting. We don't know if there was or wasn't a problem. When Mr. Frazier went in and made all the improvements to the ball fields to get them back up and operational, that is when this issue arose. I don't know, individuals can hit a ball better than I could, but I could probably hit the right field ball and probably make it go back in my day. But that was not an anticipated expense, and I will tell you right now, if you looked at their PL statement, the profit loss statement, there is not enough capacity within that existing operation to fund something like this.
I understand that, but here's a little bit of the difficulty. I mean, this lessee is also looking to do the South Stadium project, and I mean that's obviously going to involve a lot of money as well. And so, I mean, part of it that I'm concerned about is we're saying this person who's responsible for Granite Park doesn't have the funding to put this netting up, but he's going to build a multi-million-dollar complex by the stadium. The two don't jibe for me. I mean, for one, there's no money for this, so the city has to do this. But on the other hand, he is going to be building. How much is that supposed to cost? $30 million, as I recall, something like that.
That number still keeps moving because of financing challenges. But nevertheless, I would look at the South Stadium project differently than I would at Granite Park. Granite Park the intent of Granite Park was to provide green space in a part of the community that had very little to no green space. Folks went into this thing thinking that a park actually could generate enough profit to cover its expenses. I think we all are painfully aware that parks, like other amenities, are not profit centers. They're amenities. I believe that Mr. Frazier as well as Mr. Cox went in to this with the belief that they could actually make this pencil out based on the market analysis that they commissioned. That same market analysis was presented to their lender to get the financing. Unfortunately, as we have gone forward, that revenue, our anticipated revenue that come from league play and tournaments and everything else that were anticipated have not come to fruition. At the end of the day, if they were to just walk away, which they could certainly do, that park would become our responsibility. And I don't think any of us would be sitting here wanting to let Granite Park fail again, especially in an area that lacks any green space, knowing that we would have a perfectly good asset that we could take advantage of, but also know that our cost of operating will probably be more than what we are currently giving Mr. Frazier to manage that on our behalf.
Okay, so from your perspective, it makes sense to do this because it might cost more down the road?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other council members? Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, these are really good questions, and we have issues, obviously, in the past with Granite Park. But Granite Park is a lease. There's financing on Granite Park, but the city is not responsible. That's the big difference. So in the event of some sort of default, basically, we would take over the assets of Granite Park. The issue here, this was a cost before we did the renovation. It sat there, how many years, Paul? For 7, 8 years as an eyesore. Was costing the city, I think, a couple $100,000 a year. So it was losing money before. And as Mr. Chavez said, this is an amenity, for the entire community. The transaction on the South Stadium is a fee simple real estate deal, so it's totally different, and actually different financial partners involved too. But we all should always, and that's a good point, monitor these things, keep our eye on them, and make sure ultimately that the taxpayer dollars are represented. Thank you.
Councilman Baines.
Yeah, and I just want to say something, too, to kind of follow up on what the mayor was saying, because this actually is a really good discussion. And a moment ago, Steve and I just kind of leaned over to each other and discussed how tough this is. And it legitimately is a tough thing. And I think what's important to remember is that these are our assets. I think as, Assistant City Manager Bruce Rudd said, and we can't forget that. At the end of the day, we are very thankful to Terrence Frazier and TJ Cox and that team for coming in and in some senses bailing us out of a pretty awful situation and turning it into an eyesore into a world-class amenity, but it is our amenity. And the residents of the city of Fresno own this, ultimately. So it is a tough thing, though. It really is, because we are hopeful that they generate enough revenue to do these types of things, but they aren't profit centers, and I don't know that any of them will ever be designed to really be that way in reality. It's good ideas, but at the end of the day, this is amenity to our community, and we probably should start viewing it through that lens going forward, as opposed to profit centers. But I think the conversation is great, and I think all the council members brought up relevant points. Thanks, Council President.
Anybody else? I was just going to add, when I was studying this prior to today's meeting, I didn't get the sense that we were bailing out Terrence or any CBO in this vote. Is that? But then I heard Councilman Chavez's question. Bruce, could it be in context? Are we bailing any one of our partners out, or is it?
I think there's an issue over Alraca Park where the same nonprofit that Mr. Frazier is part of, has a lease agreement similar to what we did with the Fig Garden with the Cal Ripken.
Yes.
And during that field was locked at Cal Ripken, had the control. We have a similar situation, identical situation, but the field or the residents are complaining because they can't get in to access that ball field. And so in my recent discussions with Mr. Frazier, I asked why that field was being locked up as long as, constantly, and it's because of vandalism issues. The same reason Cal Ripken kept their field locked.
Exactly.
So it is kind of a challenge because Councilman Chavez is right. The community, the taxpayers built these facilities, but then when we hand them over to a CBO to manage it and maintain it, it does restrict the access. And so we're trying to come up with a solution to get back to Mr. Chavez to address his issue about access for his residents in that area of the Alraca Park so they can access that ball field.
Well, that's a great point, and I think that you guys stumbled across the answer. We need to have a workshop probably specifically about public facilities when the taxpayers are paying for them at some level. What is the level of access that's due to them? I think that's a different discussion, though. Mm-hmm. The way that I have studied this, I don't believe we're bailing anybody out. Probably, in my opinion, our responsibility. So I'm going to be supporting the state. We have a motion, a second on this issue.
Just really quick, because I want to make sure I clarify. I don't want there to be any misconception about this. And the points I made are exactly about that. I'm supportive of these partnerships, but I want to make sure that the public has accessibility to these facilities. Because if it's going to be a public-private or public-nonprofit partnership, there needs to be equal access. And I don't want there to be a misinterpretation that I feel that we're bailing anybody out, but it needs to be a two-way street. Our public needs to have access, and we should be partnering with them.
Great clarification. On this item alone, this portion of this item, number B, about Granite Park and this netting, I'm going to go out to the public really quick. Is there anybody in the public that would like to make a comment on just this part of the budget vote? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Is there any opposition to item B? Then that passes 6-0, and I'll go bring Council President Soria back in. Well, we took so long, she's not waiting right outside the door. So Councilman Capriolio is going to get her. So we're going to go back now. We had a previous motion that would include item A and item C. And so I think while we're waiting for Council President to come back in, we'll go out to the public. Is there any member of the public that would like to talk about the balance of the budget? Okay, seeing none. Do we have any council members that would? Well, I'm going to make a comment. Here's Council President. Council President, we're done with item B. We're back on a discussion of A and C. We've gone out to the public. Nobody's wanted to speak. On A and C, And Council President, I'm glad you're back in the room. Similarly, we're going to now begin to fund the operations of the community center at Inspiration Park. And I just believe, like Councilman Olivier pointed out, the public just needs to really know some of the jams we get ourselves in. This council voted to have a CBO run that programming at Inspiration Park. I think it was maybe 3 years ago. I can't remember exactly. And they were going to do all the fundraising. They were going to run all the programming. They couldn't pull it off. So today we're being asked, starting from this point forward, to spend $220,000 a year to run Inspiration Park, and that is a lot of money. And here it is back on us. In some ways, very similar to the last conversation. Now it's back on us because that partner could not pull that off. And for whatever reason, I didn't get into the detail, but here we are today with a lot of great things out at Inspiration Park. In this case, those things are ready to be enjoyed by the community, are being enjoyed by all kinds of different members of the community. But now we're going to foot the bill because the other side of the partnership couldn't pull it off. And so we do get into jams, owning things that we probably shouldn't own and paying for things that we didn't know we were going to end up paying for. Now, I've had some conversations with Council President Soria about this, and I had a little bit of heartburn when I first found out we were going to adopt the oversight of Inspiration Park's programming. But at the end of the day, it's very necessary. The stuff is there. The buildings are in place. The play equipment's in place. All kinds of stuff is in place. And I just think, I really agree with Councilman Olivier, and I do believe we need a workshop on this because we need to be very educated when we get ourselves into these deals. And so I'm going to be supportive of that vote today. It does cause me heartburn. They always do. But I just wanted to bring it up because I do believe when we're talking, today we're talking about spending $8 million of the taxpayers' money. The taxpayers deserve to get to hear about the type of things we get ourselves in from time to time. So that's my comment. Are there, Council President, I'll turn it back over to you. We're commenting on A and C.
Perfect.
And we've got a motion already.
Thank you, Councilmember Brando. And I believe, the discussion in terms of parks and the need for us to kind of continue to invest. We obviously see that there's a need, and so I appreciate your support towards this. This is a conversation that I started having the first year that I came on board as a council member because some of these partnerships are very successful, right, Bruce? We have a number of community-based organizations that have stepped up. And, I will say that I am grateful for RICB stepping up at the time because there is a tremendous amount of need west of the 99. You know that. You represent that area. There's 2 parks west of the 99, and this is the newest park. And so I appreciate the support because we do have to kind of take back this park, and it's our public facility. We understand that there is a tremendous amount of need of additional green space, but at least let's make sure that we have the commitment to invest in the existing public facilities that we have built. And to some degree, we made a promise to our taxpayers because we built them, we better take care of them. And so I want to just say, that I appreciate your support because I do believe that these things are important. Just as we fund, to build new streets, new thoroughfares, to maintain our sidewalks, our street lights, this is no different. This is a public asset that we invested when we built it. And so now we have to make sure that we're prioritizing. And now that we do have a little bit of money, that we are reinvesting and we're ensuring that we're providing the best services that we can to the constituents who ultimately, these are their taxpayers' dollars. And so we're investing them back in our community. So I think that it's great. So I want to thank you for that. I don't want to add any more. I do want to just, say thank you to the administration. I know that we delayed this a couple weeks because we need to have a conversation. I wanted to understand in detail the numbers. And so I want to thank the mayor also for taking the time to meet with me and to go through and break down all the expenses. And there is a motion, there's a second, so I'll be supportive today. And if there's no one else, to comment. Is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing none, the motion carries with 7-0. Thank you. So we're going to go back. We took that out of order, but we'll go back to we have a couple 10 a.m. hearings. So we'll go to our first 10 a.m. hearing to adopt resolutions and ordinance to annex territory and levy a special tax regarding the City of Fresno's Community Facility District Number 9 and annexation number 24. Andrew.
Good morning. I'm Andrew Bonelli with the Public Works Department. We are here with a public hearing for a Community Facilities District for a project in District 2. This is an apartment project on Salinas between Fig Garden Drive and West Bullard. It's being developed by Ginder Development. They've asked us to be annexed into Community Facilities District. The annual assessment will be $1,337. That concludes our report. We do remind you that it's a public hearing.
Thank you, Andrew. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. The screen is clear. Is there a motion? I'll make a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Brett Eiffel. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion carries 7-0. Thank you. We'll go on to the next. I believe the next 1010 hearing to consider an official plan lines for the West Central Avenue alignment from State 41 to South Cedar Avenue and related environmental assessment in Council District 3.
Thank you. We are asking you today to adopt a finding of conformity with the general plan and also adopt a bill approving official plan line for Central Avenue from South State Route 41 to South Cedar Avenue. This is the area where the Amazon and the Ulta Beauty distribution centers have been built or are under construction now. We bring you this plan line. This is an update of an older plan line that was done in the county, and this is to conform with our general plan, which allows for a smaller road in that area. The plan line that's currently in place that was adopted, I believe, in the 1980s by the county, calls for a much wider right-of-way, calls for a 98-foot right-of-way. The plan line that we're recommending reduces that right-of-way to a 74-foot right-of-way. Correction, that other was adopted in 1967. So it's a very old plan line. We have had two public meetings in the area. The first was on July 18th. It was held at Orange Center School. We had a pretty small turnout. We had about 7 people come to the meeting, and they expressed a lot of concerns about the activity in the area, the dust, the noise, the traffic related to the 2 distribution centers, and some of the other improvements that are in the area. They also had concerns about the widening of the road in front of the homes. There are residential homes kind of on the west end of the alignment, closer to Cherry. There's about, I think, 14 or 15 homes in that area. Let's see, the new plan line creates less impacts than the existing plan line. It narrows the street and is not arbitrary to the center line. It provides more certainty to the developers and to the property owners, and it streamlines the process of approving projects and really fits with our business-friendly Fresno desire. And with that, we also had a second public meeting that we conducted last Monday. It was organized by the Leadership Council. It had a much better turnout than the first meeting. We had approximately 30 people that attended the meeting. Again, primarily with concerns about the development in the area. Not a lot of concerns about the design of the roadway. It was most of them spoke about noise, dust, air pollution, traffic, and the other things associated with the industrial development that's occurring in the area. I'm going to ask Scott Tyler to come up next and go through some of the technical issues in the design that's part of the OPL.
Good morning, Council. Scott Tyler, Public Works. The segment in question goes from State Route 41, which is a signalized intersection presently, through Cherry, East, Orange, and then to Central Avenue. Cedar Avenue. So that's a 1.75 mile segment. Caltrans already has acquired some of the right-of-way for a future interchange in that area for a partial cloverleaf. So part of our design was to match what Caltrans was doing on the west side, and then we did to minimize the impacts on the Daleville area between Cherry and Mary was to sweep the road to the south a little bit. And so from Cherry, we have 98 feet from the section line going down to 78 feet, and then we widen back out from the section line to 86 feet all the way to Cedar Avenue. At the Cedar Avenue end of the project, we also had to align with the grade separation for high-speed rail. So most of the segments, the right-of-way varies from 78 feet to 86 feet from the section line, with the exception of the intersections. There are additional right-of-way for right turn lanes and bus stops, future bus stops. So those range from 93 feet to 98 feet. In the Daleville area, the proposed setbacks that we would be meeting are range from 33 feet to 50 feet. There are 4 homes that are less than 40 feet, and there are 9 homes that are greater than 40 feet. The lane configurations for this area to meet the industrial requirements for the area, we have a 7-foot bike lane going eastbound, a 13-foot eastbound travel lane, a 12-foot two-way left turn lane, a 13-foot westbound travel lane, and a 7-foot westbound bike lane. So that has a curb-to-curb width of 52 feet. And again, as Andy had stated, there was a previous OPL the county had prepared in 1967, it was recorded in 1967, that had 98 feet of right-of-way. So we've actually reduced that a substantial amount. On the side streets, there are also OPLs for Cherry, East Avenue, Orange Avenue, and Cedar Avenue. And those were recorded from 1965 to 1973. And those OPLs will not be affected by any actions today. And that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions for staff, we're available. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. The screen, you come up, sir. Please state your name and your address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Council, for hearing me. My name is Panfilo Cerrillo. I am a resident of the area. I own property on Central Avenue. I'm also a school board member. There's a school there right down the street on Cherry Avenue, just north of Central Avenue. We feel that there will be some impact to the school in regards to the traffic. As the gentleman from the Public Works Department stated, they've had 2 meetings, and they have tried to answer lots of questions, although I still have a grave concern. Mostly in regards to the traffic in the area. I posted a question regarding the number of vehicles that they were going to allow. We know that there's plans for future expansion. We can't stop that. It's all zoned for light industrial. However, I feel that we're creating, in a way, somewhat of a little volcano. We all know how a volcano starts off. It's a mountain. As pressure builds up inside that mountain, eventually it blows its top. And we don't know right now how many vehicles are going to be driving through that area on any given day. As my understanding of the way that they do the studies is that they target peak hours. Not taken into consideration was the Tuesday and Saturday Cherry Avenue auction. Most of that traffic approaches the auction through Cherry Avenue.
And there's times there when you cannot travel through Cherry Avenue. Traffic is backed up all the way from North Avenue to American Avenue, which is about an hour and a half. And you may be aware that the Highway Patrol is out there every Saturday directing traffic at 2 locations. One is at Cherry and Central. The other one is at American and Cherry. They also have some signs there that redirect the traffic. And although that's county, it borders the city. So I'm sure that has to be of a concern to the city council. If you ever incorporate this area, which is already under the sphere of influence of the city of Fresno, then this will become your issue next, because I'm sure that's the next step, is that you will be incorporating that area. So before, also one of the things that was talked about at the hearing was that right now there's no funding. So we're making a plan, but we don't know how we're going to implement a plan. And I'm glad to hear your comments regarding the Granite Park. We built it, we have to keep up with it, we have to keep going along with it. So how can we build factories, all this industrial area we're adding over there, but yet we have no plan to control the traffic, we have no finances to come up with the money to pay for all the necessary improvements to the infrastructure. So I would like to ask the City Council have more information regarding all this so that we can make a good, intelligent decision. I mean, this is probably going to be a one-shot deal where we make all the repairs necessary. If some of the property has to be taken away from the owners, then we have to take all this into consideration. So I ask that you not make a plan without having some way of financing this. We have to have the money to improve all this because there is quite a few residents there. There's also the school there, and we need to know how that's going to impact us. So let's not make a plan just for the sake of having a plan. But I do want to take this opportunity to thank you for having helped the, I think you call it the Delville community, with the water and the septic. Most of those wells were dry there, and I know that speaking for the community, we're very happy to have the city water come in. So thank you, and thanks for listening to me.
Thank you. Ma'am, if you can just state your name and the address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Sue Reese. I live in Easton, but so a neighbor to this area, but I'm here from Self-Help Enterprises. And I'll start with where Panfilo left off and say thank you, first of all, for the water that's there in that area. We refer to it as Daleville. I think I'm the one that started that. They're like, why have we called that? Because we needed a name. So it's really, really awesome that we're doing that, and everybody understands that the development's a good thing and it brings in jobs, so on and so forth. And we've worked with the transportation folks, and they've had the meetings. My thought that I wanted to share with you was, and I haven't had a chance to communicate with them to ask, but at the last meeting that was referred to, there was concerns from people about the traffic and so on, like you already heard, and school safety for kids walking to school. But another piece was how much bike pathway, how much sidewalk, would there be parking in front of the houses? So I guess my question would be, and I don't know if it has to be decided today or not exactly how that works, can the community have some kind of say in that process of how much of their land is going to be used for bikes, sidewalks? Can there be parking outside, so on and so forth? Is there a process in that? Is there a place in that? And I'm bringing it up today in case the decision has to be made to accept the plan as is, or is there still an opportunity for some input from the community? So, any comments?
We'll go ahead and see if we can address that when we come back to the council.
Okay, because I think that was probably the biggest thing that people can have some input on. And so if we can do that, it'll make the whole process go smoother and better for everybody, and hopefully not create as much of that volcano that we were just talking about.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment on this item? See none, I'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Baines.
Thanks, Council President, and thank you to our residents who came to make some. Did you have something you wanted to add? Did you want to add something?
Just wanted to answer any questions you might have.
I don't have any questions. Thank you, though. And just to, I'll make a brief comment into some of the remarks we heard. So, this what we're doing today has been studied pretty extensively. There's a whole transportation plan that goes with that. It was studied in the environmental impact report, the master environmental impact report that accompanied the general plan. So I wanted to assure you, and there was considerable public input during the general planning process. I don't want you all to think that the The public has not had a chance to weigh into this. We took about 2.5, 3 years to go through this process to get to this point. So those documents are available. The area has been studied. There are traffic reports that go along with that. So, and our office is happy to work with you. We can review it at your leisure. So with that, Council, I'll make a motion to approve the item.
Great. So we have a motion by Councilmember Baines and a second by Councilmember Olivier. Councilmember Brandau.
Yeah, I just have a question. Andrew, maybe you could help me with this one. So this guy back here, I don't remember his name right now, but he asked some valid questions, very well spoken, by the way, your concerns. During the times of the Cherry Avenue auction, because surprisingly enough, I've been there a couple of times, it gets jammed up out there. Has those high peaks during the Cherry Avenue auctions on Tuesdays and Saturdays been addressed?
You know, we do the counts, the traffic counts on days when there's not those events, and typically the traffic from the industries in the area wouldn't be on Saturdays, or the volumes on Saturdays would be lower. So special events are a consideration, but we don't design for special events. We design for the everyday traffic that occurs.
Well, special events, yeah, but these special events happen twice a week year-round, and they're fantastic, by the way. I almost bought a motorcycle there once and a bird.
Same day?
So the Cherry Avenue auction is fantastic, but this guy's got some pretty good concerns because twice a week is not just special events. It would be, it could hypothetically be impactful. So I would hope that we would look at that.
I would say that probably most of the impact there is on Cherry Avenue, which is not what we're studying today. This is on Central, so right. Much of Cherry is in the county. The auction itself is in the county, and the intersection there at Central is also in the county. So at some point we may be looking at widening Cherry, and I think we would consider the auction then.
Oh, okay. So just as long as you've heard the concerns and we can make sure that moving forward we might have to mitigate some of those concerns in regards to the Cherry App and the other concerns as well. So, but Councilman Baines, I'll definitely be supporting that today.
Thank you, Councilmember Brandau. Andy, just wanted to ask, because I do believe, similar to what my colleagues have stated, that the concerns are valid, and obviously we want to move forward with the existing item that is before us. But do you feel pretty confident that the school safety concerns have been addressed with the existing plan?
The plan adds sidewalks, which would certainly increase the safety in the area. It does not, we have not studied the work on Cherry. The school fronts Cherry, so most of the school safety issues on Cherry, not on Central.
And that's a county?
It is in the county.
So just maybe we should make a note, City Manager, that as we have our monthly meetings with the county, that we are beginning to have those conversations so that we're working together to address, potential future concerns. And as we look, if there is any moment that we do consider annexation and so forth, that we're actually prepared and that the plans make sense for us. So just like to add that, if that's okay, Council Member. Yeah. So with that, I will be supporting the item. The screen is clear, so there's a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next, we will go on to our 10:30 hearing. So this is a hearing to consider a conditional use permit application number C16033, located on the southwest corner of East Belmont and North Van Ness Avenues in Council District 3.
Okay. Good morning, Council President and Council members. My name is Ricky. I'm a planner with the Development and Resource Management Department. Today we have for consideration on appeal is conditional use permit application number C1633. Staff has prepared a brief presentation, so I'll go through that. So the property is a little over half an acre. It's on the southwest corner of East Belmont, North Van Ness. It's zoned commercial general, and it has a general commercial plan land use. Conditional use permit application C1633 requests authorization to construct an approximately 3,453 square foot Johnny Quick convenience store. That includes an 849 square foot quick serve restaurant with indoor seating, as well as an 8-station Chevron fueling station. And then it also requests authorization to establish a Type 20 alcohol license at that location. This is just a picture of the proposed site plan, which is also in your staff report. So staff analyzed the project in conformance with the Fresno Municipal Code. In particular, the conditions that were up for discussion at the time of the commission were that the site does not meet Fresno Municipal Code Section 152755 for site access, the number of driveways allowed. It also did not conform to Section 152706E, which is the locational restrictions for alcohol establishments. And it also did not conform to Section 152605 of the code for the proposed relocation of an existing billboard. And actually, I'm back on that. So really, even though the appeal opens up or vacates the entire planning commission decision, really what's on appeal is the billboard and the driveway access. So with that, staff recommends adoption of a categorical exemption for C1633. We recommend approval of conditional use permit application C1633 for the convenience store and the Chevron fueling station. However, recommend denial of the alcohol portion of C1633. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Great, thank you. So now we will go out to the public. Oh, excuse me. Before we go out to the public, I'm going to give the applicant the opportunity to come up and give your short presentation. So George, if you want to come up, state your name and your address for the record.
President of the Council, members of the Council, my name is George Beal. My address is 1175 Shaw Avenue, Clovis, California. Highway 180 in Van Ness is a major off-ramp into the downtown, the Tower District, and the City College. The property has been vacant since the Highway 180 was built over 15 years ago. Highway 180 has a daily traffic count of over 40,000 cars. Belmont, Van Ness, and Fulton has a traffic count somewhere around 22,000 cars a day. This property is the first thing you see when you get off Highway 180. First impressions as people drive by is not a very good impression to most people. I ask myself, who is providing services to these people living in this neighborhood? And I come to the conclusion that nobody was. We plan to build a Johnny Quick food store, Subway, Rare Earth coffee kiosk with indoor seating, restroom facilities open to the public, investing about $3 million and employing 14 to 18 employees. We're going to provide services to the neighborhood, the traveling public on Highway 180, services that are not currently available to the neighborhood. To give you an example, somebody getting off the bus needs to go to the restroom. They can't go to the 3 markets in the area. Restrooms are for customers, are not for customers. Need to pump up your bicycle tire, your car tire, put water in the radiator. These are conveniences to people. These are conveniences that are not available to people in the neighborhood, downtown Fresno, traveling public on Highway 180. Nobody is providing the neighborhood with safe, clean place to buy gasoline, offer squeegee, soapy water at the gas pumps, sit-down restaurant, clean, modern, safe, and ADA compliant store. There are 3 items before you today. The beer and wine license. The project sits at the corner of the Census Tract 6, 21, 22, and 23. There are 18 licenses in these 4 census tracts. We plan to buy one of the existing businesses and relocate it to this location. The next item is driveways. Staff reduced our project to 2 driveways. We need to have 3 driveways as shown on our site plan. Each driveway serves its own unique purpose. Belmont Avenue, Belmont driveway allows people driving along Belmont to enter the site, but you would have to go around the block to get on Madison and get on the freeway on-ramps. Van Ness is a one-way street going north. There is a need for customers to enter the site and then exit the site back onto Van Ness and go north. Madison is located along the south of our property line that leads to Highway 180 and to the on and off ramps. This driveway is needed for customers on Van Ness that enter the site, purchase what they need, and be able to get back onto Madison and get onto the freeway if they're freeway customers, and we anticipate a lot of them to be freeway customers. If we don't have this driveway, 2 things happen. People have to circle around onto Belmont, Fulton to get onto the freeway. The other thing is to unload fuel. The fuel tanker comes onto the site from Belmont Avenue. It lays across the middle of the fueling stations, and then it would travel onto Madison to get back onto the freeway. To where it came from. The billboard sign. We want to relocate the billboard sign to the west property line along the alley. There was an existing lease with the outdoor advertising people when we bought the property, and we are trying to honor that particular lease. This concludes my presentation. I ask that you support this project and start the revitalization of the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
So next we will go out to the public, and I do have a couple cards that I will call up first. So first I have Brenda Dominguez. If you want to state your name, address for the record, you will have 3 minutes.
Well, good morning. My name is Brenda Dominguez. I live in the Susan B. Anthony neighborhood, District 3, address 828 North Poplar Avenue. I'm here with a heavy heart. Why a heavy heart? A heavy heart because we are here considering giving another establishment a liquor license. We shouldn't even consider this in our neighborhood. Why? Because our neighborhoods are already oversaturated with the selling of liquor in this area. And to my knowledge, it is illegal to add more ABC liquor license to the amount of establishments that already have the license. As a mom and as a community member, I'm interested in the well-being of not only my son, who is present with me today, but I'm also interested in the well-being of the many families and children in our neighborhood that are surrounded by these liquor establishments. We, in the end, are the recipients of the negative effects of another establishment that sells liquor and beer. I'm here also representing about 20 to 30 moms in our Susan B. Anthony neighborhood that also are not in approval, don't agree with giving another establishment another liquor license. So please, for the sake of our communities, please deny the liquor license to the Johnny Quick establishment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Esther Delahaye. State your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Esther Delahaye. I live at 1130 East Franklin Avenue, which is within 1,000 feet of the establishment. We got notice back in December, and I think I emailed you all a letter. We did meet with Mr. Beal about the establishment. He came to the Lowell Neighborhood Association meeting, talked about the business, and I think from a business standpoint, the community is in support of this Johnny Quick, of having fresh food available to us and a good gas station there. I know my husband is personally excited about a Chevron being there. That's what he uses for his business. However, along the lines of the liquor license, we were told that Mr. Beal was interested in buying another liquor license in the area and moving it to this location. However, at this location, you can stand there and see 3 other businesses that have liquor licenses, so just within eyesight. You can also see a rehab facility across the street, and there's a dispensary across the street as well. All of this contributes to a very unsafe park that is across the street that we have continued issues with people loitering, drinking, doing drugs, and smoking at that park, and it is not safe for families and children to play at on a regular basis. And so we really believe that another establishment selling liquor at this place is not healthy for our community. And it is, we have seen really the communities, because it sits on this end of a census tract, it is technically in Census Tract 6, and the liquor stores across the street are in other census tracts. So you'll see in Exhibit F and G in the staff report the different census tracts. And so, yes, there are 18 within 1 mile radius that you could walk to, but they're all in different census tracts. So I think there's 3 census tracts there that they're counting. But in Census Tract 6, where we are considering this, 5 are allowed, I think. No, 4 are allowed, and we currently have 9, and another one has already been approved. And so once the grocery store on Van Ness and Divisadero opens, we will have 10 of these liquor licenses in a district that's only allowed 4. So with that information, I ask you to please go with staff recommendation on this application. And as for the driveways, I think it would be helpful to have that 3rd driveway on Van Ness. That's just my personal opinion as a resident living there, but that's up for your guys' discussion too. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Barbara Fisk. If you can state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Barbara Fisk. I live at 1112 East Franklin Avenue. I live within 1,000 feet of this property. I am also the chair of the Lowell Neighborhood Association. So I was present at that meeting where we had Mr. Beal and we had several residents there. We had a very good dialogue. I also chair, here at the City of Fresno, I chair the Housing and Community Development Commission. And the reason I bring that up is that back in December 17, 2015, this council approved Resolution 2015-249. And that resolution said, there was a lot of work put into that resolution. And one of the things that resolution said is that if a new establishment wanted to also apply for a liquor license, then they would need to have a separate CUP application. Now, that resolution says many things about how you advertise the liquor sales on your windows and such. But at that time, I didn't quite understand why that would have been included in the resolution. Well, I also attended the December, I think it was 20th Planning Commission meeting here, where we discussed this. And staff recommendation, this is the documentation from that meeting created by staff regarding the CUP. And their recommendation was a denial of the liquor license. Well, Mr. Beals, in front of the Planning Commission and in front of our neighborhood, said that, well, gosh, she's going to buy the liquor license from the owner across the street. The last public comment at that public commission meeting was the owner of the liquor license from across the street saying it's his family business and he has no intention of selling his liquor license. Mr. Beal was allowed to make the last comment, and he said, hey, all right, we'll give it a go. we will try this business without a liquor license. And the Planning Commission approved the project, Johnny Quick and Chevron, the denial of the liquor license. Well, Mr. Beal has a good business model. He's got, my understanding is about 14 Johnny Quick Chevrons with liquor licenses. And I understand that. And, and I'm pro-business. I live right off Belmont, just south of it. I appreciate it. 2 blocks down the way, there's a gas station. Another 2 blocks down the way, there's another gas station. I think it's a half a mile, but within a mile, there's another Chevron. So we have gas stations. We have community markets. And that lot has sat there empty for years. But I think what we need is we need that Council Resolution 215-249 enforced. Because then there would have been 2 CUPs. The approval of his project would have been approved and stayed. And then he would have separately looked at the requirements that he needed to fulfill before applying for that liquor license to see if he fulfilled them, because he doesn't.
Can you wrap up?
That's all. Those are all my comments. Thank you so
Barbara.
much.
Thank you. Next, I have Isma Clark. You can state your name and address for the record.
My name is Isma Clark, and I represent 4270 North Blackstone Avenue. Again, my name is Isma Clark, and I'm an intern with the Better Blackstone Project. I've been working closely with the residents of the Susan B. Anthony community, and this group has 2 parts, a large group of Spanish-speaking mothers, and they've been active in improving the neighborhood for years, and an emerging English-speaking group of residents, most of them homeowners who care about the kids and of efforts. The Susan B. Anthony community has been working together since the fall of last year to improve the health and safety of their neighborhood. They have made a constructive effort to get the city to repair sidewalks, park cleanups, and repair street lights. Much of this has been done with the great help of their council member, Mr. Oliver Baines. One of the concerns the community had to do with the methadone clinic that sits near the northwest corner of Van Ness and Belmont. It is during this research that the community grew more concerned with how many liquor stores that area has around the methadone clinic, which is not a good combination. So when the Lau Neighborhood Association informed the Susan B. Anthony community about the particular project, the construction of the new gas station, and the possibility of it engaging in alcohol sales, residents of the Susan B. Anthony neighborhood came together to explore ways to prevent the approval of the liquor sales license. They did this with the Lau Neighborhood Association and then engaged in outreach in their neighborhoods for support. Key residents who live in surrounding neighborhoods and who are also the part of the Better Blackstone network chose to lend their support since most of them share the same census tract. Some of these neighborhood groups, Jefferson, Yokomi, Blackstone Heights, and Tower. This is the list in addition to the Susan B. Anthony and Lau Neighborhood Association groups. Better Blackstone is committed to residents along the corridor and we'll be glad to see residents working together, organizing, and playing an active role together to make their neighborhoods healthier and safe. And we are grateful to see the council members who value the same and who have been generous and responsible for their commitments to the people. Better Blackstone will continue to work alongside of the residents and our local government to create bridges of collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to comment on this item? If you want to come forward, please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Gianna Salcedo. I live on 232 North Glen Avenue, Fresno, California, 93701. Like my neighbors have said, a lot of us are in opposition of this business coming into our neighborhood, and for the majority, it's for the reason being, it's because it makes our community unhealthy. I've advocated for several issues in the city, and it's against alcohol, and not for that, just because it leads to underage drinking. And having a saturation of alcohol outlets in our community is not healthy. And having, we already have a density of a lot of alcohol outlets in our community, and so adding to this is not fair. And I just want you guys to reconsider what you guys said when our young people came on the December 20th meeting in 2015. And we would like for you guys to enforce those policies in regards to enforcing those policies. So, yeah, thank you for listening, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public who wishes to comment on this item? See none, we'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Baines.
Yes, thanks, Council President. And so a couple of things. First, I want to thank all the residents that came out to make your comments. It's very important. I know most of you, and we worked side by side for a lot of years together on similar issues. And most of you also know that I've done a lot of work in denying a number of liquor licenses in my district. So I definitely share the sympathy, and I'm with you. In this case, we may feel differently, and I'll explain why. I take each case on a case-by-case basis when deciding whether or not to allow an operator either the expansion of a liquor license or a liquor license in an area. And because we weren't adding a liquor license, Mr. Bill has assured me that he's going to purchase an existing liquor license in the area. We can make it a condition of approval. And we weren't going to get a net increase of a liquor license, and we would at the same time get a major investment with a very good operator in a pretty blighted city block. I think I'm okay with it under those circumstances. It does not mean that I'm okay with alcoholism or underage drinking or any of that, but I do respond to good operators. And there are going to be conditions placed on, obviously, the conditional use permit that I think Mr. Bill is going to have to uphold, but it's also going to ensure a quality operation with an investment on the corner that we need at this point. I think at this point that outweighs the need to deny the liquor license. If we're not increasing the number of liquor licenses, then we're going to get a major investment with a good operator. I think that's actually a good trade-off in this situation. I do want to ask staff a couple of questions, if I can. Talk to me a little bit about the driveway.
Yeah,
why is staff against adding the third driveway?
So our code in 152755 for service station uses says that there shall be no more than 2 driveway accesses to a public street for a service station use, such as the gas station. If I can get the PowerPoint pulled up, I want to go back to the site plan and I can kind of show you. So what's being proposed is an access along East Belmont, North Van Ness, and then one on East Madison. But then there's also alley access. So technically there would be 4 if it's allowed. And what our condition stated was that to revise the site plan to remove one of the driveways, meaning one of either the Belmont, Van Ness, or Madison one. So let me go to the site plan here. Okay, so you can see along East Belmont, there's a proposed access along North Van Ness, there's one, and then the one along East Madison, but then there's also alley access to the west, which is kind of, you can't really see it in there, but it's adjacent to the Belmont one. So technically there would be 4, and with our condition, we were asking to revise the site plan to remove either the Madison, Van Ness, or Belmont condition to meet our code.
And I get, but why is that the case? Why would we want to restrict the number of access points?
I think part of it just goes for service station use. I would think it has to do something with public safety and the amount of vehicle and the flow of traffic. I mean, it was part of our development code. So
maybe somebody can answer that for me, because I'm curious about the why. I know what the code says, but what's the reason?
Yeah, so the reason this was added to our code, so there's a special use specifically, so in Article 27 in the Development Code, there's a list of special uses, and these are uses for the most part are uses that have been a problem for one reason or another in the past. And for service stations, the issue there is if you look all over town, they're usually on very small parcels on corners, and a lot of times the whole frontage is driveway. And so this makes for a very difficult pedestrian environment. So if you've ever walked in a neighborhood that has that's filled with these service stations on corners, it can be a little bit tricky because of all of the driveways. So the code was modified during the when we adopted the new ordinance to address this issue to allow for a more pedestrian-friendly environment. So that's the reason. It's because you're probably aware of some of these situations in town where the whole frontage of a service station is driveways, and it just makes it difficult for people, especially in high pedestrian area like this area on Belmont and Venice.
Now that makes a lot more sense as to why we were restrictive. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that answer. As I'm looking at the proposal, it doesn't seem as though the developer is taking up large swaths of the public sidewalk, at least not that I see. Mr. Bill, would you come to the mic for a minute, please? As I'm looking at your concept here, am I correct in understanding that your intention is not to take up the whole sidewalk for the driveway?
I don't think we're taking up the whole sidewalk and for a driveway. I think we're creating a functionality in an area that doesn't have a tremendous amount of pedestrians. Matter of fact, very few. From the traffic counts, it shows that there's 40,000 on the freeway and there's 22,000 in that area. There aren't a lot of people. There's not a big apartment complexes or big businesses that employ a lot of people. And for circulation of the traffic, these are really needed. They address the alley, and the alley is not considered a driveway. I don't know where they come up with that at, but I think the site plan is a very functional site plan. It accommodates the level of volume that we anticipate. When the truck comes in off of Belmont, it'll unload gasoline and it needs to go back to the freeway, as well as a large portion of our customers will come off the freeway, purchase whatever they need, and then get right back up on the freeway. I just think it's a very functional site plan. And
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And I kind of tend to agree. I definitely appreciate Bonique explaining the explanation of why we restrict it. But in this situation, as I look at the design, it seems to be relatively functional, and I'm not seeing a big interruption of a pedestrian walkway here. So I think I'm going to recommend that we approve the third driveway as well. Now, I'm going to make a couple of motions and some amendments, and I'll probably ask the city attorney for some help because there's some things I want to make sure we get done. First, as it pertains to the ABC CUP, because the CUP was denied, there are a couple things I wanted to make sure that were included in the CUP. First, city attorney, I want to make sure that we can bar any single sales of alcohol in the CUP.
If that's not already done, you could add that condition, yes.
Okay. And I'll just make sure that it is. It probably is, but because they denied it, I want to make sure that we don't lose anything through the denial process. And secondly, can I place a condition that the CUP has to come from one of the census tracts in that area, not increasing a net additional license?
Yes, you could.
So let's add that as a condition of approval as well. I think that's the intent of the owner is to purchase an already existing license in the area. So
from that census tract, was that the direction?
Yes. So we're not adding a net positive as far as alcohol sales. And then I also want to recommend that we allow the third driveway in the applicant's plan.
Yes, that is legally permitted here.
Okay. And then I know there was another issue with wanting the applicant wanted to relocate a sign onto the property, a billboard rather. So we want to make sure that, as a matter of fact, let me ask staff about that. Was there a reason why they couldn't locate the sign over there?
Yeah, it's again.
The billboard.
Again, in our new code, we have a list of prohibited signage that we not allow throughout the city, and one of them is billboards. Now, part of that is that they may be relocated to city-owned property, but also there's a section of the Business and Professions Code, and this is in your staff report as well, but if they can produce documentation that the billboard was lawfully erected and able to be there, what we conditioned is that they're not allowed to relocate it, but then they can keep it in its existing location as long as they can produce documentation that it was legally permitted there.
Okay.
So the short of it is basically if they want to relocate it, what our code says is they can do it to city-owned property, but billboards now are prohibited under our new code.
Okay, and why is that? I'm just curious. I didn't quite understand that from the staff report. Yeah. Why would we prohibit the movement of the billboard? Is there?
Yeah, I can clarify.
Yes.
So this is off-site advertising, and there are, for probably about 15 years now, our code has prohibited or limited off-sale advertising. So this is a billboard. So it's not a sign advertising the site. It's a billboard.
Right.
So in our code, even before the adoption of the new ordinance back in 2015, historically the city has not permitted or really restricted where billboards would be allowed. They were only permitted in industrial districts under the old code. So they would have never been permitted, at least in the past few decades, on commercial property on a major street. This is something we haven't been able to find the documentation that shows this was legally constructed, so that's one issue. But if it was legally constructed, it was done probably in the 80s or the 70s, not in recent times, because the city has moved away from allowing off-site advertising or billboards on property within the city of Fresno.
And why is that? What's the kind of the rationale for the restriction?
It leads to just a heavy visual impact. If you look along Blackstone Avenue and some parts of Belmont, the off-sale advertising advertises alcohol. It advertises, and there are large signs that impact the visual environment along these streets. They clutter the environment. And this is, like I said, this is in our code. It's been in our code for a long time. Council has previously, voted to prohibit or drastically reduce the locations where billboards or off-sale signs are located within the city of Fresno.
Okay. Thank you.
Council, staff is legally correct here. The sign can stay where it is, but it can't be removed without changing the code.
So if we wanted to, so I get that it's prohibited in the code. So if we wanted to, but he's not adding a new sign. I mean, again, this is just changing from one side of the street to the next, to the other side of the street.
Right. Legally, the sign can stay where it is. You can use that sign, but the code would not permit another location of that sign.
Okay. Doesn't sound like we can move the sign. So, Council, I'm going to make a motion that we accept staff recommendation on items 1 and 2, and we also on item 3 that we approve the conditional use permit application C-16-033 with the aforementioned restrictions, no single sales, and no net new liquor license in the area. And also, I'm going to add that we allow the addition of the third driveway for the applicant.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Olivier.
Thank you very much, Council President. City Attorney, can we bifurcate the liquor license element from the rest of the item, please?
Yes, council can do that. Take separate votes.
Is there a way that the maker of the motion can do that? Or we can, I can just ask for that.
So the motion could be bifurcated to everything but the liquor license aspect of the CUP.
I would,
and vote
okay.
on that separately?
Yes, please. With the maker of the motion, Councilmember Baines, are you okay with that? I want to take out I want to vote twice. I want to vote once on liquor, and I want to vote once on everything else, the driveways. Okay. All right, that's my question. And I appreciate that, and I already talked to the operator briefly about this project. I think it's fantastic. I think this is exactly what we need in this part of town. As you know, I represent the other side of Belmont heading east, and yeah, absolutely, trying to fill in dirt lots, and this project will be fantastic. I think for the residents, especially there's a Subway, which is fresh sandwiches, and I think it's going to be fantastic. I won't be able to vote for the alcohol element today. I think, and as we discussed, I think that there's already a saturation in that neighborhood, and I'm going to be opposed to that part of it today, which is why I asked Councilmember Baines to split it in half so that I can vote yes on the project. I think that I appreciate the maker of the motion. I appreciate Councilmember Baines moving to allow that driveway. I think that that's appropriate. We actually came up against something like this in my district at the corner of Shields and Maroa as well. Operators are coming to us, and this is the second one that I've had knowledge of, council colleagues. I think that we're going to see it in the future. To me, this is a red flag, and to me, this is something that maybe we need to address as a city, including professional city staff and planners, and also this body. I think that the industry professionals need driveways, not only for customers, but also to get the trucks in that provide the fuel. And I'm starting to see now that the city is saying, well, this is the second time that I've been involved where they've said, 3 is too many driveways, you have to have 2, even though it's impeding the ability of the trucks to come in with product, impeding the customers. So if that's something that in the future that we could address, maybe to... And again, every time I've dealt with this, city staff has been very accommodating, very helpful, and operators are being allowed to put in the driveways that they need to for their businesses to be successful. But maybe there's something that we could do just as an overarching policy to allow operators to have the driveways that they believe that they need. And I think that's about it today. So I'm happy to support. If we could, I would move the billboard. There's no way that we could suspend or do a waiver or something like that. There's no kind of waiver this body could do today to move the billboard.
We could research that and come back. The options are to allow it to stay where it is. It can't be relocated on-site or off-site unless it would be moved to city property without changing the municipal code. You can't do a one-time waiver of the municipal code.
So do you want to bring that part back?
Yeah, Councilmember Olivier, I stepped down and actually talked to the city attorney and staff, and it's an issue we're going to look more into. It isn't anything we can do today. So they did assure me that they're going to look into it, get into some more historical context about kind of what we've been doing, why we've been doing it, and also some of the history of this particular billboard as well. And then we'll come back with a resolution. But no, it isn't something that we can wave our hands on today.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. All right. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Libby. Next, Councilmember Brenda.
All right. I would like to ask our staff a question on this. Can you pull up the census tract map on this staff report?
Yes. It's a little hard to see, but if you see it better on your screen. So this actually shows all 3 census tracts. The red dots are tract 6, which is where the project is actually located. The green dots are tract 2, and then yellow are tract 23. And then these bullseye marks, the smaller circle is a 500-foot radius, a 1,000-foot radius, and then up to a mile. So generally all the red dots are the census tract 6.
And which census tract is the project going in?
It's right in 6. So right where that star is, kind of right in the middle of the bullseye, that's actually the border for tract 6. So if you were to cross the street, that license across the street, for example, is in tract 23. So where this project is it's right on the border, but it is in tract 6.
And then in tract 6, there's 5 allowed. There's currently 9.
It's currently 9. That's correct.
And are we including the yellow? So the yellow dots, are those also liquor sales?
Yes, those are type 21. These are all type 21 and type 20 off-sale permits. This doesn't include restaurants or anything on site, but so just keep that in mind. But
to get to the 9, you have to add the yellow dots, all of those red dots in the circle, and some of the yellow dots.
The red dots are the 9 that are in there in track 6.
Well,
and they're numbered there, 1 through 9.
Oh,
correspond.
I keep getting fooled. So track 6 goes further
south,
lower on this map.
Yeah, it goes further south and a little bit to the southeast. So.
Okay. I looked at this the other day, but I wanted to, I remembered something because we had a similar discussion about this in District 2 probably 6 months ago last summer.
Right.
And it's really weird when people build, in my opinion, and I expressed it then, I expressed it to Councilman Baines 30 minutes ago. It's really, to me, it's really weird when people build their opinions based on the census tracts. I don't like this model of choosing where liquor licenses go. I know that's the model we're stuck under.
Right. Which is kind of why I showed it in this map where I'm kind of showing all of them. This is just the general vicinity.
Okay.
So that's.
I know in the situation that we put out on the Fig Garden Loop, that census tract reached all the way over and barely grabbed Blackstone. So a lot of liquor licenses on Blackstone were somehow connected by a census tract to a neighborhood, quite a ways away. So census tracts are, for me, I made the case 6 months ago, last summer. I'm making the case again. They're just not, it's not a perfect vehicle for trying to make all of these determinations. And actually, it's imperfect for both sides, really, in my opinion. But I'm gonna be supporting this today. I know that Councilman Baines always does maximum due diligence in his neighborhoods, and he feels comfortable and safe with these insurances that he's gotten about single sales and so forth. So I'm definitely going to be supporting this today. I did want to make the point again. I'll probably make it every time this issue comes up, that the census tract method of developing our opinions is flawed, in my opinion. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brendel. Councilmember Chavez. Okay, so the screen is clear. I'll just add a couple comments. So one, thank you for the presentation. And then also, I just want to express some gratitude to George. I know that our office had been working with him for some time. The project also went through the Tower District Design Review Committee. And as a result, you will see the final design really had a tremendous amount of input from folks that are involved and that care about the character of the tower. As presented and noted by Councilmember Oliver Baines, this lot has been vacant. It's going to bring revitalization to the neighborhood. It's going to clean up that area. And so it's exciting to see that you guys were agreeable to looking at the design and being creative. And it's going to become an entry point to the Tower District, which I'm excited about. I don't represent this area. My area starts in Olive, but it definitely is an entry point towards the Tower District or to the Tower District. And so I'm excited about that design and really what it's going to mean to the community in the neighborhood in terms of seeing new business and really revitalization of that neighborhood. So I am, after meeting with you guys a number of times, talking to also my colleague and understanding some of the restrictions or conditions being put today, I feel comfortable enough to be able to move forward with the proposal as conditioned. So with that, there was a motion by Councilmember Oliver Baines and then second by...
There should be 2 motions.
Oh,
now.
2 motions. So the motion includes one to add the, can you
Yeah,
clarify?
Councilmember Olivier wants to vote on the ABCCUP separately, and then we can take the balance of the motion.
I'll second the second motion.
Okay, thank you.
Well, no, I think they were both already seconded, right, by me?
Yes.
Oh, so I don't want to be the second for the alcohol one. So you be that. You do that. Thank you.
Great.
Councilmember Brandow is the second for the alcohol.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and take the entire project first without the alcohol. So is there any opposition to that portion? Seeing no opposition, that motion passes 7-0. Now we'll go ahead and take the second vote on the second motion regarding the alcohol. So we have a motion and a second. Any opposition? So the motion passes 6-1 with Councilmember Olivier opposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we're a little behind schedule. Right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to call up Mary Esther Correa. I know she's been patiently waiting for her time. So we'll go ahead and take her scheduled communication. If you want to come up, ma'am, state your name and your address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Mary Esther Correa. I was born and raised here in Fresno, California. I live at 3407 East Iowa. I have 3 units on my property. They're separate. There's 2 apartments. I live in one, and I have a storage room that's been permitted and everything. Okay, so right now I want to address this issue right here that I'm very adamant about. I'm not a slum landlady because I live in my property. Within less than a year, I've had the code enforcement come. Well, I rented 1 unit. The tenants trashed my place 5 times under a year, and I got fined for being. I do not trash my own property, but I want to talk about this first. But there's other issues. I talked to Mark Castro, who is an attorney. He's very unethical. He scammed me. He lied, and he dropped the ball because he said he was going to represent me in trying to reverse the $13,500 that the code enforcement fined me, and I was very happy. But then he wanted me to. He asked for my all my information, and he asked me for my doctor to come and send me my records. And that's against the law. He's unethical, and now he wants to run. He wanted me to help him introduce him to my community in section that's council number 7. He wants to run. He wanted to run for this take Olivier's place, but I don't think he's fit because now I'm very happy, not happy about him. I called the California Association, and he's running for our district. And no, he's not. He's unethical. He scammed me. Because of him, I lost the appeal because he told me that he would go and represent me, and for me to help him with me introducing him to the. And he said, but don't tell anybody. But being the get-go person that I am, I said, well, we're going to have. I got 2 partners, and we were going to have a meet and greet to introduce him to our community. But then after I found out he scammed me, but he did tell me one thing. Well, I don't want to go into too much because I don't have too much time. But within 1 year, the code enforcement fined me. That's why I was so angry. $13,500, and 5 times in less than a year, the squatting tenants got in here and trashed my place. 5 times I fixed up my place. I'm not a slum landlady because I live here. Well, anyways, I just was very upset because what was happening. But the code.
Your time is up, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I shall return, but anyways, you have some. He has no business running for
Thank
our
you,
district.
Mrs. Correa.
Thank you.
We appreciate
and I heard
your comments.
I heard he was trying to get he wanted to take your position last time. He's a scoundrel. He's a thief. He shouldn't even be on the back.
So next, we're gonna, because I know that the young people that have been here since the morning waiting, I do have an item, which is item 4A under the City Council. It's a very straightforward resolution. It establishes a youth jobs task force, and so I just wanted to quickly present that and then give the young people an opportunity to share a little bit of what we are doing here. So I'm very proud, first of all, of the Fresno Youth Commissioners that have been working over the last couple years. And as a result, we've seen some tremendous work and recommendations that have come that this council has adopted. I've met with many of them over the last 2 years to talk about the importance of youth jobs. Last year, this body supported an investment within the budget, and the administration was supportive of creating summer internship program. And so we've recognized the need, and so we want to really create this youth jobs task force to bring people together, both from the public and private sector, and the various agencies that are involved in workforce development, but really targeting our young people to figure out how we best work at finding some solutions to the needs that exist in our community in terms of employment. I will say that I know firsthand the value of these types of paid opportunities. My first paid job was through the Summer Youth Employment Program, and I worked for the Public Works Department for the city of Lindsay. That's the town that I grew up in. And so, now, many years later, now I'm working for the city of Fresno. And so it is these types of opportunities that really set the foundation and give opportunities like people like me really a shot at learning basic skills, but also about local government. And so I want to thank first the number of young people that have come forward and expressed really the interest of creating a much more robust task force, not only that includes young people, but includes the adults that make the policies, that create the programs, that are the ones creating the policy, bringing forth the policy solutions to address these types of issues. So I've talked to a number of folks like from Wells Fargo, PG&E, and they want to come to the table, the Fresno Business Council, the Chamber of Commerce. We're all going to come together to try to figure out how we create more job opportunities for our young people here in the city of Fresno. And so with that, I'll just let a couple of the young people that are here to present or give a couple comments. If you guys want to come on up.
Motion to approve? Oh, we're not there yet.
You can make my second. So I'll make a motion. I have a second right here by Councilmember Chavez. But please introduce your name for the record, your name and address for the record, and who you're representing. Thank you.
Good morning, Council President, and thank you all, and good morning, Council. My name is Jalen White, and I represent the Youth Commission representing District 3.
My name is Gabriela Martinez, and I live at 661 East Teal Circle, Fresno, California, and I represent the Youth Leadership Internship.
And basically, the Youth Commission recognized the lack of youth job opportunities and youth job experience in our communities as a primary issue for youth in Fresno. Last year, when the city got a grant for $50,000 for 30 paid internships within the different departments. And for 30, in a short few weeks, for 30 positions, over 1,200 youth applied. And so right then and there, we saw the need for us to do something more for our youth, to provide experience for the, Fresno's next leaders, and for experience and for opportunities for the youth that have to support their families and support themselves as they go on to college and their future endeavors. And so we just hope that you all will support this resolution to establish this task force to do the intensive research that is required to do better in Fresno for our youth.
Did you want to add anything?
Just wanted to add that the Youth Commission and YLI institution did work together. That YLI created the internship positions to do the research that was presented to the Youth Commission. So it was a partnership between both of us.
Great. Well, thank you, young ladies, for your presentation and for being here, demonstrating early on your leadership skills in creating and finding solutions to the issues that we face here in the city of Fresno, and really being strong advocates for the young people of the city of Fresno. So I want to commend you guys for being here and taking time. I know that there's a couple other folks in the audience who I've met with also over the last few months talking about this issue. So I want to thank you guys. We do have a motion and a second. Any opposition?
I just had a question. Is this resolution revenue neutral?
Yes. So this resolution does not allocate any funding. It's a matter of doing something very similar with what we did with the senior task force, is convening folks here, making sure that the city of Fresno brings people together to address the issues at hand.
It probably will continue to be revenue neutral. In other words, no city funds are used to get involved with the resolution or its aftermath.
In terms of the existing resolution, no. For the future, in terms of recommendations, it will be up to this body, just similar to what the senior task force did. They presented a recommendation as to what we should be doing. So that is to be determined. But for now, it is neutral in terms of the expenses. Thank you. Councilmember Baines. Sorry.
No worries, that is my name. Well, I just wanted to thank Council President Soria for bringing this forward, and I also wanted to thank our youth commissioners and YLI. So, and I met with my commissioner the other day, Jalen White, and wanted to explain, and I explained to her, and I'm going to say it publicly, that this is precisely the type of thing when we started the Youth Commission that we had hoped for. So the idea was for the youth to actually bring things to us that we could act on. And thus far, the last couple of years, when it comes to the budget cycle, you all always bring us something that's relevant, that is pertaining to youth issues, and it gives us something to act on. The issues are always well researched and well thought out, and put together in a package that's appropriate. So I could not be prouder of our Youth Commission and the work that you all do. Sometimes when we put things together, we don't quite know how they're going to work out, but from my perspective, you all are absolutely exceeding our expectations, and I commend the work that you do. I commend the YLI staff, and all the work that they do. It's fantastic. And then even take this a step further, the idea that you all are taking some ownership in a youth commission on jobs. So, many of you hear me talk a lot about the importance of the workforce development, the importance of moving the poverty needle. Well, as we all know, you can't move that poverty needle without including the preparation of a workforce, and the youth is that workforce that we need to be preparing. And so I see this as a perfect fit with the direction that the city's going, with the conversations we're having inside in this building and even outside of this building, with moving poverty, with moving the poverty needle smartly and strategically and through the right alignments. So I'm excited to support this today. So glad that you all, again, are taking an interest in your issues and bringing something to us. Council President, I commend you on, working with our youth, and I'm happy to support.
Thank you, Councilmember Baines. So there is a motion and a second. I just do want to add one more thing. The city of Fresno is already doing good work in job prepping our kids through the Parks Department, so I will say kudos to that. But I think now the challenge to this council is to try to figure out how do we create the employment opportunities so that when we're training 100 plus kids, right, every year, that we're placing them so that the skills that we actually teach them here in the city of Fresno to the job prep program, then they can go and get a paying job. And so I look forward to engaging the Parks Department, our director, the administration, as we move forward with this task force. So again, there's a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, the resolution passes 5-0 with Councilmember Brandau and Councilmember Olivier absent. Next, we will go to item, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do, thank you for coming. What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and take a break because we still have a couple items. So we'll go out for lunch for an hour, and then we'll be back here an hour 15, 1:30. Yeah, 1:30. We'll be back at 1:30. Okay, we want to welcome everyone. Good afternoon. We'll go ahead and get started. We're going to go to item 3A, but before we go there, I believe we have closed session. So, City Attorney, would you like to make an announcement? And then we'll come back.
Closed session, we have anticipated litigation, Mountain Cascade versus City of Fresno.
Tommy, would you want to do the workshop now, rather? Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and move with that? I'm sorry that it's taken us such a long time. So we'll go ahead and do the morning workshop related to Recharge Fresno program update and community outreach for startup.
Good afternoon, Mike Carbajal, Department of Public Utilities. This presentation is an update on the Recharge Fresno program and our commitment to on time, on budget, high quality, and safe projects. The discussion topics covered in this presentation will include a status update on projects, the upcoming system startup and operation, along with planned community outreach for the water supply transition. This map shows the vicinity of projects covered in this presentation, which are collectively referred to as the Recharge Fresno program. So taking a look at our ongoing construction contracts, the Frank-Kern Canal pipeline is close to final completion. It was placed into service on November 27th of last year, and it's now providing service to the Northeast Surface Water Treatment Facility. The next four projects on the slide, the Kings River Pipeline, the Southeast Surface Water Treatment Facility, the regional transmission main segments A1 and A2 are all around 90% complete and enable us to confidently report that the Recharge Fresno is on schedule for startup in the next few months. RTM segments B and C have just entered the construction phase, and field activities will commence during the next month. Southwest recycled water transmission mains segments SW1B and SW1C are nearing completion and will enable further recycled water deliveries in the southwest portion of the city. SW1C2 is in the construction phase and is approximately 15% complete. So looking back at our February 26, 2015 project schedule that was presented to the City Council the day that the water rates were approved, we projected that the Southeast Treatment Facility to commence construction the beginning of 2016 and complete in July of 2018. Notice to proceed was issued to WM Lyles on December 31st of 2015, and today we are on schedule for full-scale operation in June of this year. During this time period, we have authorized 10 construction contracts at a value of over $300 million. Our contractors have logged over 900,000 hours worked 93% of those hours were performed by union members, and 63% were performed by residents living within a local zip code. In terms of safety, the Recharge Fresno program has an average recordable incident rate of 2 as compared to the California average rate of 5. As we complete construction and transition to operation of the new system, we will continue to implement our Target Zero safety initiatives to ensure the safety of our workers as well as the community. So looking forward to operation of the new system, the bar chart on the screen shows the projected water demands by month during the first 2 years of starting up the treatment facility. The blue shading represents groundwater production, and the orange shading represents surface water treatment production. Beginning in June, you will notice that surface water production will increase substantially with the startup of the Southeast Treatment Facility, and that means that up to half of the city's customers will transition to a new source water. To facilitate this transition, public utilities, starting on March 2nd or tomorrow, will initiate outreach efforts for the startup. Over the next couple months, water will flow from the Kings River pipeline to the treatment facility. Our filter media will be installed, pumps will be turned on, and we'll check our connections and make sure that the equipment is working. In May, the facility will start up at a flow of 10 million gallons per day. In June, we anticipate the state of California will approve an operations plan and an operating permit. The facility will be substantially complete and operated by city staff who are now reporting to the facility for training purposes. Beyond June, operation of the treatment facility will increase up to 54 million gallons per day, and staff will work with the state to further increase production to an ultimate capacity of up to 80 million gallons per day by 2020. To make this happen, a number of actions have been implemented to comply with drinking water standards. The city will continue to comply with all state and federal regulations for introducing a new water source to the system. Regulatory agency staff have been attending ongoing commissioning meetings supporting startup and planning, and will be on site daily during the testing and startup period. We will continue working with our industry experts to optimize performance of the system, which will have multiple water sources. And we have conducted distribution system monitoring and testing, and we will continue to do so after the facility starts up. We've also performed extensive distribution system flushing to reduce sediment in our water mains in preparation for increased pressure, velocity, and changes in flow direction. To inform the community, we have developed an outreach plan that will reaffirm the city's commitment to complete the Recharge Fresno program on schedule and on budget. We will educate our customers about the upcoming water supply transition and provide opportunities to address customer questions or concerns. We will attempt to reach all customers and ratepayers by producing materials in multiple languages and preparing business-focused information for those businesses who may be sensitive to a change in water characteristics. Our informational materials will include fact sheets, updated information on the Recharge Fresno website, frequently asked questions, and presentations for community meetings. We will provide notifications in upcoming utility bills, send out a business-focused mailer. We will utilize the email databases that we have developed during our construction outreach efforts, and we'll utilize local media and social media sites. 3 community meetings will be held in different locations and have been scheduled during April for customers to learn more about the water supply transition. And we have also set business meetings tentatively during March so we can meet with businesses who require additional information or support. For City Council inquiries, Sarah Rosetto, our public outreach lead, and I will be available to answer any questions, and our customers can reach us at rechargefresno.com or 844-FRESNO-H2O. This concludes my presentation. I'll be available for any questions. I'd just like to take a minute and thank each of you for your support that's enabled to bring the program to this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So since it's a workshop, we won't be going out to the public this afternoon, but now we'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Luis Chavez.
Hey, Mike, a couple questions. So if you go back to slide 3, the one that has the map, kind of the project layout page there. So which neighborhoods will receive the first batch of water from the Southeast Water Treatment Plant?
Yeah, we're moving back to it. So the first neighborhoods, and we're going to be pushing water out into the system at 10 million gallons a day. And the water is essentially going to take the path of least resistant. We're working with our hydraulic modeler to try to determine where that water is going to go. But primarily, that water is going to be focused in the southeast portion of the city.
So do we know which neighborhoods are going to be the first ones, or is?
Right, we have an idea through our modeling efforts, we have an idea as to where it's going to go, but it's even at 10 million gallons a day, it's hard to, and it depends on the time of day, what the demands are, so the water is going to fluctuate a little bit during that time, but primarily it will be that demand will use it first in the southeast portion of the city.
Are we going to be, so the meetings you spoke about earlier, are those going to be targeted in that area that's getting that first batch water, or is it citywide?
Say that again?
The community meetings that you referenced that the city's going to be engaging in to inform the public, are they going to be focused in Southeast first, or is it citywide?
It's going to be focused on those customers who can receive service from this facility. So, essentially half of the city is going to receive a notice about the water supply transition because they will at some point in time receive that water. And it's an opportunity for those customers, those businesses to meet with us and obtain information about this transition.
So I know in preparation for this, and Tommy, we spoke a little bit about that, we were going to be doing some testing on pipes, existing pipes in some of the older homes, some of the newer homes, and kind of monitoring how that would affect the water system. And so what I'm trying to get at is, first of all, how did that testing go? Was it successful? Did we get a good sample of the various homes that it's going to affect?
Yeah, so we were able to pull some piping out of homes off of basically Olive Avenue in that area, because those folks, that's where the main transmission main is, that blue one leaving the plant, travels along Olive, then it goes up at Fresno, it goes up on McKinley and then heads over to Palm. But we found a group of homes off of Olive Avenue that were kind enough to let us rip the pipe out of their houses that we then are using up at the Northeast plant to do the pilot testing. So the pilot testing is using pipe out of both the Southeast Fresno area and up a little bit in the Northeast Fresno area around Herndon and Sierra. There were some homes in there that also were very gracious and let us pull water from their meters. We're also doing water quality testing right now along Olive Avenue area. We had some great residents who allowed us to go into their homes now, grab some water quality samples to understand how the quality currently exists on the groundwater. Then we're going to come back and do additional testing after the water gets it, so we can just say, okay, the before and the after. And then as part of our new operating permit from the state, they're going to make us, they're going to require us to do distribution system sampling throughout that area so we can just understand what's the mix of the water between groundwater and surface water. So everything is going very, very well right now. We had a meeting with the state in December. We took them through our full-scale testing data, our jar testing data, and our pilot testing data where we have people's pipes that we've taken. And all the indications there were that the chemistry that we're running at the Northeast plant is the ideal chemistry to run down at Southeast. So we're pretty good that we've dialed in the chemistry that we want to use in the system.
Well, I know we're going to meet later and kind of go over that, but I know that, just looking at how the treatment plan is centered, this could affect residents of District 7, District 4, District 5, and so I just want to make sure that we're monitoring this closely, and everybody's getting water, and we're not having issues that we've had in the
Correct.
past.
And that's exactly our goal as well.
Well, we'll meet and follow up a little bit on that.
That'd be perfect.
Thank you.
Councilmember Brando.
And it seems like I ask you this almost every time we get talking about water. So on the recycled water projects, because Councilman Chavez just spoke that it's going to affect several districts. I think he said 5, 7. But the gold mine is really District 2.
That's the gold mine.
The gold mine, District 2. But actually, I'm very interested, and we're beginning the West of 99 specific plan. And my colleagues and I, we've talked about a little bit when discussing that plan. It's going to be, in my mind, it's going to be very beneficial. We could do fantastic things with recycled water that we've never been able to do before. We could insert median islands that have the purple pipes to them in a whole area that we're planning west of 99. And so how long until you anticipate the pipe that goes further north that would connect all the way out to like Herndon and service west of 99? And then eventually, I know it's some years off, but the major golf courses and parks all the way to Woodward Park, really.
Right, so right now you can see this first line that comes out of the treatment plant and it just heads up north. That's on Cornelia. That's Cornelia. So that's the stub that we've left to continue to go north. So right now we've got some folks that are working on a demand analysis for that area. So one of the things we have to understand that I think we could have done it a little bit better was do the demand analysis on the other lines that are coming into the city. But to do a demand analysis on how much water can we deliver, how much demand is there in the area, how big the pipes have to be, and then what's the dollar per acre foot. I mean, we're trying to get down to $1 per acre foot. And so we have that dollar per acre foot. We also have the ability to potentially consider adding technology to the treatment plant so that we can make it basically drinking water. And that would give us less restrictions on the water so we could do a lot more things with it. So that'll be $1 per acre foot. Mike's going to give a presentation to you here in a moment about a potential of doing a project out at the airport to get us something started on the east side of town. Again, that'll come out and that'll have $1 per acre foot. And eventually we will come to you guys and say, here's the investment strategy we have for recycled water on $1 per acre foot basis. We'll give you a recommendation on like what you just asked, what's the next increment of capacity and technology we want to add. So we're in the process of putting all that data together that we can bring back to you guys and we can make a judgment on where's the next investment need to be.
So following along the line of questioning, so previously we had a plan, phase 1, phase 2. Have those been taken off the table, and are we going to look at those?
We're going to revisit those, yeah, because the assumptions were that there was 25,000 acre feet of demand in the city for landscape irrigation. And if you look at our system, it costs us, we deliver that water now with our potable water system. Yeah. It's a $2 billion potable water system to deliver 25,000 acre feet. Mm-hmm. We're not interested in building $2 billion worth of recycled water pipeline to deliver it. So I think there was a little disconnect there. It was like, hey, there's a big number we can go chase. But it takes a lot of money to get that water delivered to all those little places. So now we're going back and revisiting. Let's look at the demands. Where are they? And then we'll get down to those $1 per acre foot to get up to Herndon, $1 per acre foot to do something at the airport, $1 per acre foot to do something like in the west side of the city. We've got to kind of get a little bit more business acumen on how we want to make that decision. I think we might have missed that back in 2009, 2010.
Interesting. So we're really starting afresh, and as of right now, we don't actually have a plan to take recycled water further north and hit some of these major areas.
And we have a plan, and we're having some folks just ground truth it and say, hey, look, it's easy to put pencil on paper and show lines going somewhere, but what's the dollars it's going to take to do that? And how much water do you actually deliver with that? And then we can do the division and say, all right, how does that compare with another option and another option and another option? So I want to ground truth it before we come to you with a $150 million request for more pipeline.
No, I understand. And then, what's that? How far out is that next projection, or not where the plan?
Where I bring you the data.
Assessment.
They're working on that data right now, so we're probably about 3-4 months away from bringing that to you and saying, hey, here are the numbers for these different options that we have available.
Okay, and then is there any way that we can apply to state of California bond money for capturing and using more recycled water?
Yes, so in the Prop 1 bond, the Prop 1 bond money, there was money in there for recycled water, and so we're actually working right now to position ourselves to get some of that. That's part of the work that we'll do on this airport facility is, hey, this is our application for money to that project. We're also looking at getting some research dollars brought in from the state to look at this, I'll call it toilet to tap technology. What would that look like? So part of getting Fresno State involved to help us kind of define that as well, so they can be involved in helping understand that technology and applying it here.
Are there other communities, cities that are further along than us on toilet to tap?
No.
Right.
No, the closest right now is, I would say, is City of San Diego. They've got a program called Pure Water, but the regulations aren't done yet. And so their strategy is take wastewater, treat it to a high level, and then stick it in a big lake, and then the lake feeds a water plant. We're talking about real toilet to tap, where we'd actually treat it to a high level, stick it. One thought we've got is we insert it into the Kings River pipeline, and so we'd mix it with fresh mountain water. We put the recycled water, and those two waters would blend together and go into the water plant.
So is it your opinion that that's going to be happening across the state of California? If so, I mean, do the citizens of the state of California have to agree with that strategy?
Yeah, their opportunity to agree with it will be when we come back with the 218 saying, hey, we'd like to request authorization of these rates so that we can fund this program. There was an article in the paper yesterday or today that said the number one water supply resource untapped in California is recycled water. Everybody's going to go after recycled water. I mean, you've got a big ocean out there. You could do desalination on the coast, but San Francisco, LA, San Diego, everybody's going for the toilet to tap right now and trying to pursue that as the next big water supply source.
Right. Still seems very interesting. I mean, I know that the use of treated water is great opportunity for even the city of Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that plain as day, so I'm very supportive of that. Matter of fact, I have another question about that, but the toilet to tap concept, it's just going to be very interesting to see whether citizenry buys into that.
Exactly, I agree. And so we've got to start probably having that discussion and just what are the concerns, what are the issues before we bring something to the group to weigh in on and say, hey, we want to do this. You're absolutely right. And all the agencies are doing that right now. That's like, we had a strategic plan with all the big water agencies in February, and one of the top list item was toilet to tap and how to bring that, but bring the community along, bring the state along on the regulations, and bring the state along on the financing.
So one of the other things that you and I have talked about in regards to this is connecting City of Fresno treated water to our highway system, to allow 41 to be beautified. I think every council member up here knows that we need help there, and 99 as well. Is there any way that are we connecting with this current completion system? Would we connect into the system that we could use water on say, for instance, Highway 41?
So the investments we're making right now will put water on 41 and 99. All the stuff the stuff that Mike showed you that we're building is to get water on 41, where 41 is over there. We're on Whitesbridge area, in that area. So right in that area where we would do it, and then over off of 99, just coming right over here by City Hall where you can get on.
So then when we tie into their system, does it take it the length of 41 and the length of 99?
So that's what we'll have to work with them on, just the pipes. It's a pipe sizing issue. If they've got little straws, we're not going to be able to push that far. We've got to just understand how big their piping network is and how far we can push it.
Yeah.
So we are doing a residential project on the west side right now. We're doing the planning to get it onto people's property, front yard, backyard irrigation with recycled water.
All right, cool. I'll probably come up with some other questions for you. We'll talk later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Capriolio.
Hey, Tommy, I'm really, really excited. You and your team have done a fantastic job. And I remember the day we're out there breaking ground, and it seemed like an impossible task. But we're so close.
I talked to the administration. It was, I can remember we did the February 5th meeting to close the public hearing. We did the February 26th meeting to adopt the rates. A lot of discussion here. You guys took a leap of faith with us, and I will can't thank you guys enough for what the confidence you put in us to get it done. And Mike and his team are getting it done.
Yeah, greater good of Fresno and making those tough decisions and not kicking the can down the road, confronting it and dealing with it and making it work for our citizens. And I want to remind my colleagues that the treatment plant is in District 4. And we will be the water model by virtue of what you said earlier, working with Fresno State, et cetera, to come up with the best format to service the rest of the city. So hopefully my colleagues will understand the importance of how this got initiated. Thank you, Tommy. Congratulations.
Thank you. The screen is clear, so we'll go ahead and move on to our next item. Our next item on the agenda is item 3A, actions pertaining to the Northeast Surface Water Treatment Facility, 6 million gallons finished water reservoir project in District 6.
Good afternoon, Mike Carbajal, Department of Public Utilities. This item is a request to award a design build contract in the amount of $11,758,200 to WM Lyles Company of Fresno for the Northeast Surface Water Treatment Facility's 6 million gallon finished water reservoir. The Northeast Treatment Facility produces up to 30 million gallons a day of potable drinking water. The existing reservoir size capacity was reduced to 1.5 million gallons as a cost savings measure during the original design of the facility, and it provides reduced storage for fire flow and anticipated or unanticipated shutdowns. Approval of this contract is necessary in working towards meeting the city's long-term conjunctive water use goals to reduce the degree of groundwater overdraft and to achieve a balanced water resources portfolio. 6 million gallon tank will also support potential future expansion of the facility to 60 million gallons a day. Total project cost is estimated at $14 million, and it is anticipated to be funded with a safe drinking water state revolving fund low interest loan with an annual interest rate of 1.7%. Plans and specifications were advertised on April 7th of 2017. 2 proposals were received on May 16th of 2017. In response to that solicitation, and WM Lyles was determined to be able to provide the best value to the city with a bid amount of $11,758,200. The second bidder, Mountain Cascade Incorporated, filed an appeal subsequent to staff's determination that they are non-responsible due to inadequate design build experience. An appeal hearing was held on August 16th of 2017, and the hearing officer's recommendation was attached to the staff report. The council is not bound by the hearing officer's recommendation. The staff now recommend award of the design build contract to WM Lyles Company of Fresno. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Now we will go out to the public, and I do have a couple cards for this item. So the first person that I will call up is David Hicks. If you can come up, state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
I had some handouts for the council. My name is David Hicks. I'm Vice President of Estimating for Mountain Cascade and Corporate Secretary as well.
You may start. Your time is ticking.
I'm here today to defend my company against the biggest miscarriage of a public bid process that I have ever witnessed in my 40-year career, and to urge the city to reverse course and award this job to Mountain, still the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. At this point, the city has left us no option but to pursue legal remedy, if for no other reason than to fight a non-responsibility determination that is ludicrous. It affects our ability to bid work moving forward. In your hand is a March 1st advertisement complete with a photo from an identical job we recently completed for the city. And if you look closely at the photo, our job site sign is there. It's an identical job to this one that we're talking about today. We submitted our proposal, and because of the ingenuity and innovation we are known for and have built our reputation on, we were $1.5 million below the bid submitted by WM Lyles. And that is no small amount of money based on what I've been seeing on that screen. We were $1.5 million below them and only 10% over the engineer's budget. We have been, are, and are still the lowest bidder, $430,000 below WM Lyles. Later in the process and without warning, the city introduced a last best and final round that was never part of the stated process and doesn't even appear as an option on the city's own design build contract code. The submittal deadline was June 1st for a last best and final at 9 a.m. The city said failure to submit would freeze the bid at the current amount. It would not be able to be changed later. That was what was implied. We submitted and were later interviewed that day. Lyles failed to submit. They did not submit a last best and final. They were not interviewed. We were the only contractor. This is when the city, as evidenced by the emails you now have, began back-channel communications with Lyles in an attempt to drag them back into the process in clear violation of the city's own Communications and City Procurement Ordinance, Chapter 4, Article 6. Twice Lyles said no, and twice the city changed the bait and kept on fishing. Finally, 3 weeks after the deadline, out of nowhere appears a last, best, and final from Lyles with unsigned, undated, and non-binding. Ours was dated and signed by me, meaning that you could stick us with it. Lyle's last, best, and final offer had not one, not two, but three of our proprietary cost savings ideas from our proposal. Practically chapter and verse. I'm trying to rush through this, I'm sorry. This is 8 months to get to this point, so I'd like another minute. This is where we began to hear rumblings of non-responsibility determination.
I can call him up with my time, and so he can conclude.
So you can continue, sir.
This is where we began to hear rumblings of a non-responsibility determination, and I don't think you guys realize how serious this is in our business, over having not been in the lead on a design-build job. I must admit I did find it odd that during our interview, which was supposed to be about the last, best, and final offer, quickly turned into an interrogation about the capabilities of our stellar team. Having been in the lead on a design-build job was not in the advertisement, was not mentioned in the pre-solicitation meetings, and is not a requirement of the city's own design-build contract code. It was introduced for convenience late in the process in a lame attempt to provide a vehicle to get the job to Lyles as the city's own obviously preferred contractor. Mountain Cascade has completed over $60 million in design-build work over the last 5 years, and we have been re-engineering jobs for clients for over 4 decades, long before it was called design build. We saved them untold millions of dollars, not to mention time. I'm almost done. We have been asked for and have granted 3 price extensions to the city. 3. I hope the city council can appreciate the irony in being asked for 3 price extensions from a non-responsible contractor. How are we non-responsible if we've extended our price 3 times, the last one expires tomorrow? This is an insult to the long-standing integrity of this company and needs to be corrected. Absent our bid, the city and its ratepayers would be stuck with Lyle's $13.2 million price, 30% over the budget. Only by using our bid and last, best, and final offer was the city able to get Lyles to a number that is still $432,000 above ours. How do we know we had how do we know that we had the best value bid? Because in the emails you have, Lyles said we did. If you read those emails, twice they told the city they saw no path forward with which to be able to compete with us based on our price. The city gave them the ideas, and that's why Lyle's price is lower. Mountain Cascade needs to be awarded this job, or the city and Lyles need to be prepared to face the legal ramifications of these reckless actions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one other card, and this is Ralph Zapala. If you can state your name and address for the record, you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, President Zoria. My name is Ralph Zapala, Busby, Zapala, and Sanchez, LLP, legal counsel for Mountain Cascade. Our client has asked that we briefly touch on the legal ramifications that are presented here if this bid is approved and awarded to Lyles. First and foremost, there is a very important legal ramification here. This is a public project. It has funding at state, federal, and local level. The reason we have these guidelines is to make sure there is integrity in the process. When the board knows, based on the hearing officer's conclusions, that the actions by the city staff are in violation of the bidding policies, the entire process is called into question. And it is inappropriate for anyone looking at these facts to conclude that these are just minor and negligible city staff errors, when in fact, based on the presentation that you have heard, these actions were taken with the very clear intent to favor one contractor over another. And that favoritism is clearly in violation of your city charter, Chapter 4 forbidding process, and it certainly does taint the entire process in this circumstance. Coupled with the fact that there has been, as my client has expressed to you, this non-responsible label That is devastating for a contractor in the public sector, and it's inappropriate to allow that to take place. So really, the only way to exonerate my client is to honor the low bid, because to do otherwise, the city in its award is saying that my client, the low bidder, is non-responsible. And that clearly is actionable under California law. Those are my remarks, and I hope that the city can see that the legal consequences here can be avoided quite readily by honoring the prescriptions of the city code and award the bid to the lowest bidder. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. What I will do right now, I'm going to call for us to go back to closed session. May I do that, City Attorney? Before coming back and having a discussion publicly.
Yes, you may.
So we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll be right back. Thank you. Great, so we will resume back to item 3A. And so we'll start here at the dais. We had closed public comment, and so I do have Councilmember Bredefeld punched up. Oh, no.
Chavez.
Councilmember Chavez.
All right, I want to thank folks that came up and spoke earlier, and we've had a couple conversations. So what I think best we do is we just reject all bids and start over, and I'd like to make a motion for that.
I'll second.
The screen is clear. Councilmember Baines.
Yeah, before we vote, just wanted to ask a couple questions, Tommy, if I could. And I was going to bring this up in the workshop, but I'll kind of tie it into this because I was going to ask it anyway. But, I saw that we only have hired 63% of the workforce has been local. It's a pretty low number from my perspective. When we spend in, $600 million or so, I would expect that number to be in the 80 to 85% range. Any idea why we aren't getting more local folks on our job sites?
We've got a lot of projects. So like us and High Speed Rail are kind of competing for labor right now. I know we had a meeting with them the other day, and then everybody else has got some construction projects. So it's just really a competition. So a lot of people are coming in from other places right now to help backfill. So I think one of your initiatives is to try and get more local people trained. So I think we still need to kind of be pushing that. And we had the earlier, your resolution about training the local youth to kind of get into workforce development. So that's my first reaction, because High Speed Rail and I have had the same discussion. We seem to be having to pull in the contractors that are working on those two big programs are pulling in people.
By any chance, have we broken out which one of our contractors are hiring more local people?
We have that data, so we can get that data and report it back to council.
Yeah. Do you have any? You have any idea?
I don't know. I can probably tell you, with the water plant being done by a local contractor, that's probably got the most amount of the local residents working on that one. But we can give you back the exact data on what it is. But I would think the water plant would probably be one that's probably situated the most to have a local participation, because that's a local contractor doing that work.
Yeah, and what I'd like to sounds like what we're going to do. I know my colleague made a motion. I think we're going to take an action to reject the bids today. And do this differently, which is probably maybe the more prudent thing to do. But before this comes back, I certainly would like to see all the contractors that are working on our surface water treatment plant, and I want to know who's hiring our local folks and who's not.
Yep, we can get you that data.
And I'm going to want to have some of that because this is our taxpayer money. I'm going to expect that future bid documents are going to have some qualifications for contractors coming to get large multi-million-dollar contracts, but only 63% of our workforce is being hired. So I'm going to be certainly looking for commitments from whomever is bidding on our projects. And I just wanted to state that publicly. So,
perfect.
So contractors who think that we're doing things unfairly should probably be prepared for this type of stuff. We need to make sure our folks are going to work. Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you,
Council President.
I'm not going to be supporting the motion today. While I understand maybe the confusion by Mountain Cascade, I feel confident in the work that was done by staff, and I also feel confident in the process. But I do understand that maybe it doesn't look the best, but I won't be supportive of the motion today.
Councilmember Capriolio.
I completely agree with Councilmember Bain's comments, and I'll be voting no.
Councilmember Bredefeld.
Yeah, Tommy, question. So this bid was for design and build of this tank.
Design build of this tank.
Okay, and were you looking for people who had experience doing this, had done this before?
Yeah, as this would be the first such project for the city of Fresno, and specifically for the Department of Public, yes, we would want somebody who had done this previously to have been participated in and led this type of effort to have been working with us on it.
Okay, and let me ask the gentleman from Mountain Cascade. No.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you built these tanks before, correct?
We would be using the same subcontractor to build the tanks that WM Lyles is using.
The same subcontractor?
It's a specialty item of work, yes.
Okay. What about designing them?
No.
No what?
Do we design them?
Yeah.
No, we do not design. We do not design tanks.
But isn't that part of what you bid on?
There were specifications that the city, I guess, arrived at. I'm not our design build manager. Mm-hmm. He's on vacation, but there are specs that were written.
Okay.
It's the same two or three tank contractors that do these tanks all over the country. The design's pretty much done.
Okay. Are you saying that it would have been done in the same way that Lyles would have done it?
Lyles was using the same subcontractor for the tank. I assume used the same design.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same requirements. It's a specified product the city wants.
Okay, and you came in at $1.4 million less than Lyles.
That was for all of the work.
All of the work.
Not just the tank. There was a lot of other work.
Okay. Tommy, could I ask you something? Thank you, sir. Could you clarify then again a little bit more on the design issue related to the bid?
Yeah, so the design issue, like you said, the tank, and we've talked about, the tanks are manufactured by specialty contractors who come in, but prior to that, the general contractor, the engineer, would do all the geotechnical work to understand what's the bearing load of the soil around it. They'd have to do all the hydraulic calculations to make sure that the pumps and the pipes that we're designing, that we're attaching to it, flow through and we don't have any restrictions. The electrical requirements, the instrumentation requirements, all that stuff is part of what they would be doing as part of the as part of designing it. We would be participating in that as well, and we would, green light, yes, no, I want the level indicator at this height, not this height. Those kinds of things is what we would go through in a design build process. The tank is kind of like buying a pump. He doesn't design or build a pump. We don't design or build a pump. The tank is another thing like a pump. It's something you buy from somebody. And there's 3 manufacturers that do it. Once you've set all the things, once you've designed and prepared the site for the right conditions, then that guy shows up and he starts building the tank for you.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Councilmember Brandow. Okay, seeing the screen is clear, so there is a motion by Councilmember Chavez and second by Councilmember Brandow. Oh, Olivier, sorry. So there's a motion and a second. Should we take an electronic vote?
Council, the motion was to reject all bids, so a yes vote would be to reject the bids.
No means yes, yes means no. City Attorney, can you clarify the motion? It's to reject all bids and
Yes.
direct staff to start all over.
That was the motion.
That's what a yes vote would
Yes
do.
vote, maybe a voice vote would work better.
Okay.
So yes, a yes vote is to reject all bids and start over.
That motion failed. So do we have a new motion?
I make a motion to accept the recommendation of our department.
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Capriolio and a second by Councilmember Baines. So we'll to accept the recommendation of the staff. Yes, electronic. Oh my goodness. So that motion fails.
I have a motion. I have a motion to continue the item to the next council meeting.
Second.
So we have a new motion to continue the item to March 8th. Is that, Councilmember Brando? Is that the next meeting? Okay, so we have a motion to continue the item to March 8th. And do we have a
We're getting
second?
motion sickness.
I know. Do we-
Second.
A second by Councilmember Olivier. Motion carries 4-3. So will be continued to March 8th.
Thank you. See you next week.
And Tommy, how soon will you be able to have that I'm looking for?
I should probably be able to get to that like Monday, Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll go on to the next item, item 3D, actions pertaining to the 2017 Collaborative Body-Worn Camera Policy and Implementation Grant Program. Thank you for your patience. I know that you've been here for a while.
Council President, members of the council, I will make this brief and quite simple. Here today, the item is to accept $172,500 from the U.S. Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Administration Body-Worn Grant Program, Body-Worn Camera Grant Program. This would allow our agency to purchase roughly at half cost. We kick in half, they kick in half, 85 body-worn cameras that will conclude our program. It will allow us to put a body-worn camera on every police officer that is wearing a uniform like mine or any other semblance of a uniform. We've been using these cameras for the past 3 years, and I think we all know the value of a silent partner for our men and women in law enforcement. Without belaboring this issue any further, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you for the presentation. There's a motion by Councilmember Capriolio and a second by Councilmember Baines. Councilmember Brando.
I was just going to say that I'm very supportive of this. I remember when we first started talking about body cameras, there was a lot of fear and worries and concerns, but I think now even some of the police officers felt that would hinder their job are now pretty happy they're out there wearing them, because a lot of times they get to tell the other side of the story. So very supportive of all of our officers having cameras. So
Thank
I
you,
will
sir.
be.
So the screen is clear. We do have a motion and a second. Is there any opposition to this item? Oh, we forgot to go to the public. Thank you for reminding me, Councilmember Capriello. So we'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, the screen is clear. We do have a motion and a second. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, the motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was much more straightforward. Right?
Can we do that electronically?
Now we'll go to item 3E, approve a consulting services agreement with Converge One Inc. for the upgrade and replacement of police department's data 911 hardware infrastructure.
Good afternoon, Council. Brian Horn, Chief Information Officer. Please excuse the voice. The item before you is to approve a consulting agreement and the purchase of hardware and software for the upgrade and replacement of the police's data 911 infrastructure. The purchase of the hardware software is $168,000 being purchased from a cooperative agreement, and the consulting services for the, yes, sir? Oh, the consulting services for the help of the implementation is $21,000. Consulting services are being sought for the implementation of data transfer, and these purchases and services are needed to ensure that these critical systems that are being used by the police department, which is basically your 911 system, are on equipment that is supported and not end of life. Staff is here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. The screen is clear. Is there a motion? I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by myself and second by my Councilmember Baines. Is there any opposition to this item? Seeing none, the item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Brandau absent. Next item, item 3F, to approve a consultant service agreement in the amount of $595,894 with Parsons Water and Infrastructure, Inc.
Mike Carbajal, Department of Public Utilities. This item is a consultant agreement with Parsons Water and Infrastructure in the amount of $595,894 to provide Phase 1 schematic design services for the proposed airport wastewater reclamation facility. In 2015, the city entered into a consultant services agreement with Parsons to provide a feasibility study to investigate the need, benefits, and location of a future wastewater reclamation facility in the vicinity of the Fresno Yosemite International Airport. The proposed facility would provide relief for existing and future wastewater system demands by a design process provisions to meet Title 22 regulatory requirements for discharge and reuse of recycled water in landscape areas and groundwater recharge facilities. The facility would also aid the city in meeting its Water Resource Management and Sustainable Groundwater Management Act goals. Feasibility study identified a preferred facility site location south of Shields Avenue between Airways Golf Course and Clovis Avenue. The property has been secured through a 40-year interdepartmental MOU between the Airports Department and Public Utilities. Phase 1 design services are now necessary to develop the project definition, identify project environmental requirements, and apply for alternative funding opportunities to minimize ratepayer impacts. In the event that funding for the project is secured, staff will bring back to council a contract to move forward with the complete design. Staff now recommends approval of the consultant services agreement with Parsons Water and Infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Bredefeld.
Yeah, Mike, just a quick question. So this consultant agreement, there's nobody on staff who can provide this schematic design services? Nobody can do this?
No, not for this type of facility. I mean, this is one where we're going to be examining where to scalp the wastewater, identify the alignments. There's a selection of the actual treatment process and even consideration of whether we do direct potable reuse and then what to do with the water at that point. Okay. So we don't have staff on. Okay. This is where we go out to consult.
I'll make a motion to approve if one hasn't been made.
Motion by Councilmember Bredefeld. I'll second. Is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing none, motion passes 7-0.
I just want to say, Council President, that poor Councilmember Capriolio could not even make a motion for something in his own district. But Cap, I want you to know that in spirit, I know you made the motion.
I was telling him and he didn't. You weren't quick enough. You can
there
take the second.
There's a protocol that wasn't followed, that's all. Which is not unusual.
I can rescind my motion if you want to make it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
There's
second.
a motion made by Councilmember Capriolio and many seconds. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
With that, we'll make sure that District 4 distributes the water according to those votes. Thank you, guys.
Item
Thanks,
3G, approve a requirements contract with Game Time not to exceed $500,000 per year through U.S. Communities Government Purchasing Alliance. Parks.
Good afternoon, Parvin Nellums. I guess we the
last one here. So this item here is we're seeking authorization to use our purchasing cooperative agreement in hopes of continuing purchasing playground equipment, shelters, and also benches at a reduced price. I will tell you that the city has been part of U.S. communities and also worked with Game Times for approximately 12 years. And we're just looking for an authorization to move forward in hopes of going out and getting the right product for a reduced price. I will tell you that with this organization, U.S. Communities, approximately 55,000 agencies have worked under U.S. Communities, from local government, also state government, and also, local government and state government, city, and also school districts, and also nonprofit organizations. Okay. All right, so I'm just seeking approval. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. We'll go out to the public now. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. There's a motion by Councilmember Olivier, a second by Councilmember Capriolio. Any opposition to this item? Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. And I believe that we're done with the agenda. We'll be adjourned.
Tony, good to see you. You're moving around pretty good. Yeah, good for you. I know that was a long, winding road there. Good to see you.
So we will be adjourning the meeting. Oh, yes, unscheduled. Unscheduled communication. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment during this unscheduled communication period? Seeing none. Now we motion to adjourn. We'll adjourn in memory of Billy Graham. Thank you.